Hello, 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 friends. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I hope that everyone is doing quite well this fine evening. Alright, we're all good here, we're all good here. Looks like everything is up and running and we are stable all the way across the board. Milu, Molly Sue, Matty, and Songbird. Good evening and welcome in, friends. Songbird, thank you for the heart me and for the Go Popular. Tips to the Tavern Keeper, always appreciated. Apologies, I'm off today. You're allowed to be off on days, Matty. We're all allowed to have an off day. As long as you don't let the off day become every day. That's really all that's important. Hello, Molly Sue, it's good to see you all. How are we looking? Is everything feeling stable all the way across the board? The portals feel like they are not going to suddenly boot us all out into the aether? Are we all feeling good and dandy at the moment? Looks like we are running cleanly all the way across the board. Or at least it seems so. Not getting any warnings or anything of the like. So it seems like we are doing okay. Ready for goblins? Hello, Master Castle. How are things in the tavern? Significantly better, Petro. Significantly better. It seems like we're doing alright today. I got one thing done today. Couldn't edit because my concentration is off for that today. Well, when you spend a lot of time doing the same thing over and over again, you find that you're going to split your focus quite often, Matty. And that's alright. On occasion it does happen. Thank you, Songbird. I appreciate you. But it does look like we're doing good. It does look like everything is solid and stable all the way across the board. I'm grateful for that. Ready for the goblins. Armed and ready to go. Susan, hello, welcome in. It's good to see you. Thank you for the heart me. Tips to the Tavern Keeper, always appreciated. My friends, for the first time in a while, I think it's been almost a month, we are back in to Silverthorn. We're a little bit more than halfway through the book. And I don't even remember where we last left off. When we last left off, they had just fled the town that they were in, and the barbarian that they were fearing was going to be coming after them. It was in fact there to find actually the same person that they were looking for, or that was following them more or less. So yeah, so the barbarian, the one who it seems like the hill tribes of this world are meant to be like Scottish and Irish, which is interesting. And he's trying to find the Brotherhood of the Dark Path, Dark Elf, who Arutha had stabbed a few chapters earlier in the throat. I had 9 kins running through the house today. I also got nothing done, but they all did leave unmaimed and had fun, and that's really a huge accomplishment unto itself, Milu. So I think you should give yourself a fine pat for that.
Permission to have you show the booger.
You want to show them the booger?
Show them.
Oh my gosh, he's covered in dog hair. This is the new boy, by the way. He is much more mellow and enjoying of his job than Boo is. He is just happy to get any attention at all. Of course, he does like his freedom, but he absolutely loves getting attention, and he will do anything to get attention. He's also very malleable. He'll just lay back and kick it and relax. Destiny, hello, love. Good to see you. Welcome in. Oh, we got dog hair all over your face, guy. Okay. I'm going to give you back to the boy. No, don't flip.
My little man.
Trying to do kitty flips.
My little man.
All right, friends. Well, I think that we've given everyone enough time to trickle in. If one of the barkeeps could let everyone know that we're on, because I know that Bear was very much looking forward to getting back into Silverthorn. So if we could let everyone know that we are up and ready to go, I would appreciate it. And yeah, it looks like everything is stable. Things to be thankful for. We have a stable portal connection for the first time in over a year, and it looks like we're going to be able to make it all the way through Storytime today without any other issues. So I am grateful for that. So, my friends, fill your glasses, get butts into seats, and let us begin on chapter 13 of Silverthorn. Thank you, Destiny. I appreciate you. Chapter 13 of Silverthorn, Stardock. The wind whipped the water to white foam. Gardan looked at the distant shore of Stardock, wishing he could ride to the academy instead of trusting fate to keep a barge right side up. Still, it was on an island. He had endured sea voyages before, but despite a lifetime of living in a seaport, he hated traveling over the water, though he could never openly admit as much. You and Destiny, Maddie? That's quite alright. I couldn't figure out how to tag the picture of the recipe I uploaded. If you put it into the guild, Petra, I'll be able to find it. I'll go give it a look after we're done with Storytime. They had left Krondor by ship, travelling down the coast until they entered the narrows of between the Bitter Sea and the Sea of Dreams, which was more of a giant saltwater lake than a true sea. At Shamata, they had commandeered horses and followed the river Dolan to its source, the Great Star Lake. Now they stood waiting for the barge to put in. It was poled by two men in simple tunics and trousers, local peasants by the look of them. In a moment, Gardan, Brother Dominic, Kasumi, and 6 Suroni guards would step aboard a pole and be poled to Stardock Island. Almost a mile away, Gardan shivered in the unreasonably cool air. It was spring, but the late afternoon air had none of the warmth expected at this time of year. I'm a fugitive from a hot land, Captain, said Kasumi with a chuckle. Gardan's voice had little humor in it as he replied, No, it is cold here. But there's something else. I've heard nothing like that, nothing but dark foreboding. Wait, hang on, what was Gardan's voice? On a completely unrelated to stream, I am allergic to dogs. I'm normally fine as long as I don't touch them and in my face. My in-laws decided to have puppies. We now have 7 dogs in the house, My allergies are off the chart and I can't breathe. That is heavily, heavily unfortunate, Destiny. You need to be careful. Erin, hello. Having a full existential crisis. What is your existential crisis, Erin? Perhaps we can either help or we can all share in it. Existential crises tend to be better when they're shared. And they want to use my car to take them to the vet because their car is down. Look, I understand, but you have to put your health above that. Like, I feel like I'm not doing enough with my life. Hold on to that for a second, Erin. We'll come back to it. Let me get a couple of pages in, and we'll come back to that. What was Gardon's voice again? No, it is cold here, but there's something else. I've heard nothing but dark foreboding since leaving the prince. Brother Dominic said nothing, but his expression showed he shared the feeling. Kasumi nodded. He had stayed in Krondor to guard the king, and when Arutha's message arrived, he had accepted Liam's charge to accompany Gardon and the Ashapian monk to Stordok. Besides his desire to visit Pug again, there had been something in Liam's orders that made him believe the king counted the monk's safe arrival at Stardok vital. And I'm stuck in a bad place and never gonna get out of it. I said no, and now it's a full-blown guilt trip and has been for 2 weeks. You really have to put your health first. Allergies are no joke. In instances where you could stop breathing, and in a car is the last place you want to have your airway close up. Frost, my friend, hello, welcome in, it's good to see you. I had a surfside, it's been great. What is a surfside, Erin? The barge put into the shore, and one of the two bargemen stepped ashore. We'll have to make 2 trips to carry the horses, sir, he said. Kasumi, who was senior, said, That's fine. He indicated 5 of his men and said, These will go first. We will follow. Gardon said nothing about going second. He had no desire to rush the coming ordeal. The 5 Suroni led their animals aboard and took up position silently. Whatever they might think about journeying on the wallowing barge, they maintained their stoic demeanor. The barge put out, and Gardon watched quietly. Save for faint signs of activity on the far island, the southern shore of the Great Star Lake was deserted. Why, wondered Gardon, would anyone choose to live in such isolation? Legend had it that a star fell from the sky, creating the lake. But whatever the lake's origins, no community had ever arisen upon its shores. The lone remaining Suroni guard said something in his own language to Kasumi, pointing to the northeast. Kasumi looked where the man pointed. Gardon and Dominic looked as well, and in the distance, close to the horizon and coming before the approaching night, several winged figures could be seen gliding swiftly towards them. What are they? Asked Kasumi. Those are the biggest birds I've seen on your world by far. They appear to be nearly man-sized. Gardon squinted, and suddenly Dominic shouted, Ishap's grace! Everyone, back to shore! The bargemen looked back from where they had been making slow, steady progress. Seeing Gardon and the others draw weapons, they quickly pushed back for land. The approaching figures could now be seen as they raced towards the party on shore. One of the boatmen cried out in fear and prayed to Dala for protection. The nude creatures were grotesquely human-shaped, male with blue skin and powerfully muscled torsos, shoulder and chest muscles flexing like giant bat wings beat the air. Their heads resembled those of hairless monkeys, and each waved a long, prehensile tail. Gardon counted there was an even dozen of them. With impossibly high shrieks, they dove straight at the party on the shore. As his horse bolted, Gardon lunged to one side, barely avoiding the outstretched claws of one of the creatures. A scream sounded behind, and Gardon glimpsed one of the bargemen being carried aloft by a creature. It hovered for an instant, and with a powerful beat of its wings, holding the man by the neck. With a counterpart, with a contemptuous cry, it ripped out the bargeman's throat and dropped him in a spray of blood. The man fell to the water. Gardon struck at one of the creatures, which sought to grab him in the same manner. The blade struck it squarely in the face, and the creature only withdrew with a backbeat of its wings. There was no mark upon it where the sword had struck. It grimaced, shook its head, then launched another attack. Gardon fell back, focusing his entire concentration on the creature's outstretched hands. Very human-like fingers ended in long talons, and they raked across the steel of his blade as he parried. The captain wished his horse had stood long enough for him to retrieve his shield.
"What manner of beings are these?"
Kasumi shouted, as the barge got close enough for the 5 Suroni to leap from the shore. Dominic's voice could be heard somewhere behind.
"They are elemental creatures, fashioned of black arts. Our weapons will have no effect."
The Suroni seemed unperturbed by the fact, attacking the creature as they would any enemy with no hesitation. While the blows received did no damage to the creatures, they obviously inflicted pain, for the Suroni's onslaught caused the creatures to withdraw and hover for a moment. Gardon looked and found Kasumi and Dominic close by. They both had shields and stood ready. Then the creatures were on them again. A soldier screamed, and Gardon caught a glimpse of the Suroni falling nearby. Gardon saw Kasumi avoiding the rush of 2 of the creatures, using sword and shield and agility to good advantage, but the captain knew there was no hope of survival, for it would be only a matter of time before they tired and slowed, with the creatures showing no sign of fatigue, and they were attacking with such a fury as much as when they had arrived. Dominic lashed out with his mace, and the creature warbled a high-pitched note of pain. If weapons could not cut the magically constructed hide, then at least they could break the bones. A creature fluttered in a circle, trying desperately to stay aloft, but slowly it approached the ground. From the way one wing lamely flapped, it was obvious Dominic had broken its shoulder. Gardon dodged another attack and danced to one side. Behind the 2 creatures attacking him, he saw the wounded one touch the ground. As soon as his feet made contact with the earth, the creature emitted an ear-splitting howl of pain and burst into a shower of sparkling energies. With a flash of near blinding in the evening gloom, it vanished, leaving only a smoking patch on the ground. Dominic shouted,
"They are elementals of air! They cannot abide the touch of earth!"
Gardon swung a mighty overhand blow at the creature on his right, the force of the blow drove the creature downward, and it made the briefest contact with the earth. But that was enough. Like the other, it exploded into sparks. In panic, it had reached out a hand, gripping the trailing tail of the creature beside it, as if trying to pull itself away from the destruction below. The sparking energy traveled up the tail of the second creature, and it too was consumed. Kasumi whirled about and saw that 3 of the 6 men lay dead. The creatures now numbered 9, and they swarmed the remaining fighters, though there was now an element of caution in their approach. One swooped down towards Dominic, who braced for the attack. Instead of reaching out for the monk, the elemental beat backwards against the air, buffeting the cleric, seeking to knock him down. Gardon raced up behind the creature, ducking to avoid its claws reaching for him. He lunged forward, barely keeping his sword in hand, and threw his arms about the dangling legs of the creature facing Dominic. He hugged them close, his face buried against the naked thigh of the thing. His stomach churned at the stench from the beast's body, the odor of the things long dead and best buried. His unexpected weight pulled the thing downward, and it shrieked and beat its wings furiously, but it was off balance, and Gardon pulled it to the ground like the others. it burst into sparks. Godon rolled away, feeling pain erupt along his arm and chest, where he had gripped the creature when it exploded. He had been burned in the process of destroying it. He ignored the pain and felt a growing hope. Those on the shore numbered 7, Gardan, Kasubi, Dominic, 3 soldiers and a boatman wielding a pole, and the creatures were now only 8. For a moment, the attacking elementals chose to circle overhead, out of reach of the surviving soldiers' weapons. As they began to peel off for swooping attack, a shimmering began a short distance down the beach from the defenders, Godon praying to Tith, god of soldiers, that it wasn't the arrival of another attacker. One more foe would surely tip the balance and overwhelm them. With a flickering of light, a man appeared on the beach, dressed in a simple black tunic and trousers. Gardan and Kasumi at once recognized Pug and shouted a warning to him. The magician calmly surveyed the situation. One creature, seeing an unarmed opponent, howled with maniacal glee and dove for him. Pug stood his ground, showing no defense. The diving creature reached the point less than 10 feet from him, then crashed into an invisible barrier, as if it had struck a stone wall. The creature crumpled to the ground, and it vanished in another blinding flash. Shrieks of panic surrounded overhead, as the remaining creatures now understood that here was a foe beyond their powers to harm. As one, the 7 remaining creatures turned and began headlong flight northward. Pug waved his hands, and suddenly a blue fire danced upon his upraised palms. He cast it after the fleeing creatures. The sphere of blue fire sped after the elementals, and caught up with them as they winged furiously over the water. Like a cloud of pulsating light, it enveloped them. Strangled cries of pain could be heard as the elementals contorted in midair and fell twitching into the lake. As each touched the surface of the water, it erupted into green flame, consumed as it vanished under the rippling surface of the lake. Godon watched Pug as he approached. The nearly exhausted soldiers. There was something unusually somber in Pug's expression, and his gaze held a hint of power Godon had never seen before. Abruptly, Pug's expression changed as he relaxed. His face now looked young, boyish in spite of his nearly 26 years of age. With a sudden smile, he said, "Welcome to Stardock, gentlemen." I think we can pause there for a moment. Virginia Beach and Virginia are both beautiful. They're actually absolutely beautiful places. Ads in 4.5 minutes. Why is that so loud? Good Lord. That is very, very loud. Your Highness, King Norcalius, hello, hello. Good to see you. Welcome in. So very glad that you could join us. Santana, hello, welcome in. Welcome, 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 friends. It's so good to see you all. All right, let's go ahead and we'll run our ads in on Twitch real quick. So we'll be back in about 3 minutes, and then we're gonna chit chat for a little bit before we get back into the story. So, Erin, while we've got ads running, let's go ahead and Bear, hello, you made it in. We're only about 2 pages into the chapter, so you are absolutely still prepped. Everyone, I'm down from 225. I'm at 217. Hell yes, a victory is a victory, my friends. I'm glad you brought in to celebrate, Santana. That's good news, though. Congratulations, and I'm just over sales. I feel you on that. I worked in sales and marketing for almost 10 years, Erin. It is soul-sucking, and it is, in fact, a very difficult profession to be in. while there is a lot of money in sales, you can make really very good money in sales. My wife is missing and I'm sad. That's true. Where is Ashley? Ashley's not in. Is she not going to be in today? It might just be because I don't expect that the schedule will normalize until after we've been back for a couple of weeks. I'm aiming for 200 by October. That's a hell of an aim. I think you can do it. I think you can do it, Santana. I don't make enough for how much I work. That'll happen too. I was worried you would miss Story because I know you've been looking forward to Silverthorn for a while. She's been working a lot and is exhausted, so she'll probably not be in. That's to be expected. As a retail worker of 6 years, Godspeed to all the service workers. Gigs for life? Absolutely. Working in the service industry is in fact soul-sucking, and you will often work more than is worthwhile. Oh, and we're getting the loan next week for the new trailer? Hell yeah! 2 victories in 1 week. That's definitely not bad, Santana. Definitely not bad. And to everyone who's just now making it in, welcome. For those of you who are new, I am Castle, this is my tavern, and here we talk about myth and lore and tales of yore. And every now and again, I read you all a bedtime story. You were out shopping? Well, you're of course allowed to go shopping, Bear. Never want you to miss any of your stories, though. I'm absolutely thrilled for you, Santana. That's wonderful news. I spent a quarter of a century working in the service industry. 0 out of 10 do not recommend. About 25 more followers until I get affiliate. Just getting the new laptop and Ethernet cable soon. Also good news, Matty. Also good news. Sage! Goblins screaming for Castle to save them, for the Sage is here. And with good news. We're getting so much good news today. I don't know if I can bear it all, but throw it at me, Sage. What do you got? Yeah, sadly, retail is service work is necessary. It is something that is most definitely required. It is something that is needed. But the problem is that most people who you will encounter whilst you're working in the service industry will be wildly and grossly ungrateful. And it's not even most people. Most people will be indifferent, and I think that's even harder than the people who are ungrateful. But and working in social media is sort of the new age of working in the service industry, because what we do is not as direct, and there's a lot more money that can be made, but you're sort of at the whims of the emotions of the people who you serve, right? Somebody comes in and is having a bad day, they're going to try and make it your problem. Oh, my grandfather's surgery went splendidly and he's home recovering. Absolutely spectacular. I love getting all of the good news this evening. It's our first full-length story time in a while, and got all this good news coming in. I could not be more thrilled about it. And my first time writing on stream on my laptop will be editing. Good fun. Yeah, and my brother and I, we worked in sales and marketing for almost 10 years. And it is a wildly unpleasant place to be. Again, there's a lot of money in it, if you can get through it. But he had his pacemaker malfunction and had to have an emergency surgery to replace it. And it gave him a heart attack, of course. Well, home and recovering is good. I sold 12 books today. I launched a good number of promos of the last book sale. And I'm doing it on Reddit and Facebook. Sold 15 since Sunday. Hell yes, Sage. Getting the good word out there. I have a bad mother who I was able to learn very little, if anything, from. So I'm wondering if I can undergo this Trials of Becoming Grown area in the guild. Certainly you can, Petra. Everyone is welcome to undergo the Becoming Grown trials. And for anybody who's new and who has no idea what that is, in my family we have a very specific set of traditions and standards we undergo to become adults. Being of adult age is only one of the requirements to be considered an adult in my family. You have to undergo adulthood trials. Those adulthood trials teach you basic skills, fundamentals of where all of the things that come into your life, like food and clothing and homes and electricity and all of these things, where all of those things come from. And then showing that you can, one, reason, take care of yourself, and think for yourself are all things that are required in order to become an adult. Most of us learn these things very young, but we start at 6 years old. But adults who marry into the family are also required to go through adulthood trials. Matty, there is a group tab over on the left-hand side. It looks like a tree, and it is marked as Becoming Grown. And this is how my family has transitioned into adulthood. As it stands today, it's probably been about 200 years that we've been doing it that way. But the tradition itself of undergoing adulthood trials goes back more than 1,000 years in our family. So yes, Petra, you are absolutely welcome to undergo that's why it is there. Anyone in the guild who would like to undergo adulthood trials is welcome to try. I've sold up to 191 copies combined since publishing last September, and 37,015 pages read on Kindle. That is amazing. Wesley, hello my friend, good to see you, brother. Welcome in. You don't want to adult anymore. That's quite all right. We have a rule as a part of our tradition that we are not allowed to force adulthood on anyone. The act of becoming an adult is willful. Now you can grow up and become somebody who is of adult age, but you could be 67 years old and not be allowed to have the voice of an adult if you've never undergone adulthood trials in the family. And we look at everyone who has not undergone trials as being a child. Now that doesn't mean that everyone is looked down upon. It means that you have certain expectations of children, and they are very low. You don't have the same expectations of a child that you do of an adult, because there's a barrier of understanding there. So the reason why I don't get frustrated with people and I don't get upset when people come in and act a fool when we're doing streams and when we're live, except for when they act out against the lady, I don't get upset, because you cannot expect children to have the same levels of understanding and responsibility that adults do. I wish there would have been things like that for me when I was growing up. It is something that we are desperately missing in culture today, to be sure. And I don't just mean American culture, which is where I live, or European culture. Culture all over the world really lacks a fundamental set of foundations. Because like going through adulthood trials, we learn about money, we learn about managing ourselves, managing our emotions, managing our expectations, we learn about preparing food, we learn about working and responsibility and all of these other things. We undergo all of that before we are allowed to be considered an adult. And the trials to become married are even more in depth than that, because you are pinning your entire life and happiness on another individual. So the expectations of individuals who get married and have children are even higher than those who become adults. Esther, hello! Esther says, good evening, Castle. I trust this message finds you well. Have I missed much during my absence? We've really only been back for 3 story times. We did Harry Potter on Thursday. The lady did some Son of Shadows on Sunday. And this is our first time back in Silverthorn for a good long while. I act out, but in a good way. But of course, book 2 is now up to 260,000 words, and with about 11 chapters left to write. Save me, Boo Kitty. Self-editing is a whole skill unto itself, isn't it, Sage? All right, I think that I spaced out there for a second. The lady and I are finally getting back on a decent enough schedule. As you will, well, as some of you, I know not all of you watch Storytime, the shorter stories and the longer stories that we put out. I know not everybody does go watch the videos. But for those of you who do enjoy them, you will note that Storytime has returned, and it should be returning on an almost daily basis, and we should have 1 to 2 long stories out a week, starting probably next week. And for those of you who have been supporting us through Patreon and members and gold and all of that, you'll also start getting 2 exclusive videos a month, as well as some other side things from the lady for the other projects we're working on. And I know I've said this 1,000 times before now, but hopefully it is true. Twisted Fates is coming soon. Twisted Fates is on the horizon. I know I've been working on this for half a year. I know that I've been working on the Bleeding Grimm's Book of Grimm stories for more than half a year now. Actually, almost a year now. And the Creatures of Yggdrasil and the children's book. I know we've been working on all of these things, but we are so very close. And we're here. Ashley, hello, love. We have presumed you weren't going to make it in. So very glad that you did, though. You got a completely different profile picture now. But Destiny was missing you madly. Not much on your plate as usual, and that and there's so much more than that for us. But I'm happy to have the responsibilities. I'm happy to be here, and be allowed to do what I do. The lady and I are very excited for the rest of this year. Is that all self-editing? Is that we all get drunk together and sing loudly while terrorizing the mermaid and the candlemaker's wife? Something like that, Sage. Something like that. It's akin to that. Ashley, hello and welcome in over on Facebook. So glad you could stumble into the tavern tonight. I inadvertently omitted the name of your canine companions. I mistakenly believed it to be Scully. Destiny needs to improve her aim. I missed Destiny. Richard, hello! Welcome in through the Facebook portal. Hello. Now, is it stable for everyone? Is everybody enjoying a nice, stable environment for their story time? You were deeply missed, Ashley. We're very glad that you could make it in. I hope you and Mateus are doing well. I know that Destiny said you've been working a lot. I ain't lying, I miss friends. Well, every time you take a shot, right? Oh wait, Ashley is Ashley Cornish and Ashley on TikTok? Is that the same Ashley? Or different Ashleys? I've had no issues for the last 3 streams. That is no, different. Okay, alright. See, we've got 3 Ashleys. 3 Ashleys. Different profile pic to fit the cottagecore vibe, I feel it. Oh, yeah. No TikTok. Okay, alright. Whenever somebody pops in, too many Ashleys. Never too many Ashleys. Never too many Ashleys, never too many of any of you. I'm happy to have every last one of you in. Just gets confusing when I start pointing and pointing and talking to Ashley's. Ashley Hale. It's very clear. Wonderful. I'm glad to hear it. Or not enough, right? There could be. We could have a half dozen more Ashleys before I'd start getting confused. I am henceforth Rick, Pickle Rick. So many Ashleys born in the 80s. We have 8 Ashley friends. It gets confusing. Alright, friends, let's continue. Well, and Erin, coming back to what you said about... Because Erin was concerned that she's not doing enough with her life. You're still very young, so you have quite a bit of time. Now, that doesn't mean that you should waste your time. A lot of people think, oh, I have a lot of time, so I should be able to mess around. We do indeed only have one Esther. That is true, Esther. We only have one Esther as of now, but don't jinx yourself. There might be another. Nora, hello, welcome in. Good to see you. So very glad that you could join us. Yep, we only have one destiny, and likely only one destiny spelled with an A anyways. I'm also an Ashley born in 1986. Yeah, there were a lot of Ashleys and Ambers born in the 80s. A lot of Ashleys and Ambers born in the 80s. You're still young, Erin. You have a lot of time. And what you should be doing is figuring out things that you like to do. And only one Erin, that's true. We only have one Erin. We only have one Sage. Around here it was Ashley, Sarah, and Samantha everywhere. I do know a lot of Samanthas. I actually had a friend who was born the year before me in the 80s who was a Samantha, and her brother's name was Samuel. Well, pick a thing that you know you're going to enjoy and that you can be good at. Because one of the things that we overlook a lot is everybody says work your passion. Working your passion is fine, but if you suck at what you're passionate about, then that's not a very good thing. Oh, to be known as only one identity. That's why I usually recognize you all by the way you chat more than your names. Like, you all have very distinct personalities in the way that you interact with other tavern folk. You like taking care of people. Well, taking care of people can take many forms, Erin. You can take care of people. I mean, technically, what the lady and I do is taking care of people. We have this community where we take care of people's mental well-being through the way that we entertain and uplift people. So there are a lot of ways that you can do that, and if you would like to be in healthcare, that's certainly a noble profession. Kessel, did you adopt me without me knowing? Very possibly, Matty. I sign anything if you put it in front of me. Most people here are fluent Taiwanese. That's true. That is true. Well, don't count on a 50. It's also like 50 an hour. It can be. But you work very long hours in healthcare. You work very long hours in healthcare. I worked as an EMT for a while. It was very long hours. Oh, you can tell who we are by how we type. It is easier to tell who you guys are by how you type, because you all have specific quirks that you use when you are typing. Or just fluent in Matty. Spread the typo curse. No, I probably haven't said, but it's right up here behind me. We are in the midst of Silverthorn, by Raymond E. Feist, and it's a wonderful book. We're a couple of pages into the chapter, but I took a quick break while we were running an ad over on Twitch. I say bro and use peace signs a lot. Erin is just a baby, that's true. 50 an hour for 3 12-hour shifts. It can be, again. the working in healthcare is very inconsistent with the hours. You're either going to work a lot or you're not going to work very much at all. No, it's alright, Ashley. It's okay. If you haven't been in for story time in a long time, then these are all new things and you are more than welcome to ask. I or any of the barkeeps are more than happy to answer any of the questions you have. And don't get me wrong, you can make very good money in healthcare, but I'm saying that in the reality of it is when you start working, if you're working as a nurse, if you are working as a doctor, if you are working as a surgeon, if you're working as an anesthesiologist, some of them you can get paid very well for working very little, but for the most part, most medical facilities are understaffed, and you will work a lot of overtime in healthcare. And again, it is a noble profession. It's worthwhile to go into. Just make sure that you have a realistic expectation going into it, because that is the truth out of all of it. And always be prepared to go into whatever it is you want to do, being the absolute best you can be at it. I'm gonna see if Facebook will let me work over here. Let's see what will happen. Message didn't show up. Matthew said I could never rob a bank because it's obvious when I'm around. Fair enough. Fair enough. Alright, my friends, I think we can get back into story time. Refill. Well, believe it or not, a lot of what we know about old pagan religions is speculative. While we have a certain understanding of an idea or notion of worship, the actual practice of it is significantly less well documented. And what you find in most cultures that are not among what we have well documented with like Buddhism, with the sutras and Hinduism and the Abrahamic religions and so on, that have a lot of heavy documentation around them, is that the practice was usually veneration of ancestors. Like my family, there was a large focus on veneration of ancestors, and while with us it wasn't a practice of religion, it was a practice of culture. So it wasn't so much about worshipping as much as it was about living up to the expectations of the blood that was brought to us, is how our tradition went. Gunnar, hello, my friend. A glass raised to you as well, brother. I'm glad that you made it in. I hope you and your wife and your children are all feeling well. I can't commit crime without the police looking at me and going, "You did this, really? A scrawny kid like you?" I mean, being inconspicuous is the best kind of spicuous you can be. Yes, thank you. You are my people. No written instructions or documentation of feeling. Well, and we as human beings want so much to believe in higher powers that a lot of times we forget that, and I do believe that there are higher powers. I do believe that there are things that we will never understand. We're so focused on that aspect of it that we forget to stop and wonder. We forget to stop and be marveled by the amazing world that we live in. Regardless of what you believe, whether you believe that it hatched from a giant egg, like in Finland, or you believe that it was created by the God of Abraham, or whether you believe that we were nothing and then nothing exploded and created a whole lot of nothing, and then that whole lot of nothing became a whole lot of something, and then that whole lot of something proliferated into a whole lot of more something. Regardless of how you believe the universe came into being, every single possible way that the universe could have come into existence and humanity could have started is absolutely amazing. It is absolutely incredible. There is no end to the miracle that is our existence. It is an absolutely miraculous thing. So regardless of where you want to believe it came from, stopping to appreciate how absolutely incredible and unlikely it is that we are here is something that we should all share in. And apart from old cults, a lot of the pagan religions as they're recognized today aren't really all that old. And a lot of people don't like to hear that because they want to believe that what they believe is old. And I'm not telling people that they can't believe what they want to believe. You can believe whatever you like. But when you look at things like Asatru, and you look at things like Wodenism and Wicca, and even things like the Wheel of the Year, these things are not very old. They're from the last about 150 to 200 years or so. And a lot of them were brought about in the 20th century by individuals like Gerald Gardner and Aleister Crowley and so on. These guys took a bunch of old cultural practices and turned them into religion. And religion almost always comes second. Even if you want to take Christianity, for instance. Jesus Christ, if you look at what happens in the Bible, was not trying to make a religion. He was trying to fix the instructions that came before. He was trying to fulfill a prophecy and get people to just treat each other well and live virtuously. That was what happened. And then later on, we had the development of Christianity, and then the branches of Christianity like Lutheranism and Protestantism and all of these things that developed as a result of it. Would my story accidentally start a pagan religion? It's entirely possible, Matty. People have started religions around Stranger Things. We have the Church of Scientology and the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster, and people just want to believe in powers greater than them. Or sometimes they want to believe that they are the power greater than them. So they're all matter of things that people will believe in. I'm deeply passionate about wildlife and nature photography, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to study my photography, which enriches my knowledge significantly over the past 6 years. I have been fortunate to win 2 awards consecutively. I'm eagerly participating in the 2025 award, and I'm hopeful of securing a victory. The prize pool for this year's award is substantial, offering a potential $28,000 to the winning photographer. That is absolutely spectacular. Esther, I have my fingers crossed for you. Church of Theology, the Church of Theology, of which I am a contributor. I am a contributor to the church. Well, it's not my religion, but I am a contributor to the Church of Theology. There is now a Church of Gnome, and no, I am not kidding. I believe you, Frost. I believe you. Well, thank you very much for your side of this. I completely agree. Thank you for opening up. I appreciate the true talk. It is refreshing. I do my best. Ashley, we are storytellers. And I do my best to tell the stories as they were passed on to me, as that is the tradition of my family and clan, to carry on the stories and traditions as they are given to us, so that the next generation may have them in the purest form we're able to pass them on. I show up in time for the Church of Gnome comment, and I have so many questions. We were just talking about how human beings have a deep need to believe in things greater and bigger than them. And how it has this believing in pretty much anything. Pretty much anything. Shrek is love, Shrek is life. Yeah, the internet is full of strange things. Hello, mein Freunden. Wie geht's mir? Ist gut. Ich bin gut, mein Freunden. How are you, Tyson? How are you doing, brother? Most everyone is greater and bigger than me. I can relate. I myself am only 4'3", so canonically speaking. That's why I am a boobism. I definitely believe in the greatness of boobs. I think most folk on the planet would agree with you, Herring. Molly Sue says just wow. Yeah, let's start this. You guys, you're all well, not all of you, but many of you are degenerates. Is an ordained Dudist priest. See, and that's the thing, like, I am able to marry folk. Darth-Ed, hello. I am able to ordain weddings, and as an elder in my own clan, as a magister in my own clan, I am able to marry people both in the old way as well as in my family's tradition. Now, getting married in my family's tradition is a very difficult and trying process. It's something that Destiny and her husband are attempting. Rachel, hello, so very good to see you. Glad you could drop in. That's why you love us. I adore all of you. You're all absolutely wonderful. In England, they actually have the Jedi faith as a religion. That's... I mean, whatever gets your midichlorians flowing, right? I had a hand fasting ceremony. Yes. Hand fasting is a part of a little bit of... Hand fasting as it's usually done today is not the same way as it would have been done of old, but hand fasting is a beautiful tradition, to be sure. You definitely exude that Lord of the Rings dwarven energy, but I assumed you were like 6 feet or something. Canonically, I am 4'3". If anybody asks you, I am indeed 4'3". Matty says I am now a Jedi. Yes, hand fasting. Hand fasting is a beautiful, beautiful ceremony. We use it in all of our traditional weddings. Have hand fasting. We also have ceremonial exchanges of blades. We have the rebirth. I will worship Gandalf now. Don't do that. He would be very upset about that. Matty, you can either do Morgoth or you can do Eryu. Oh, protect us, O Pi, thine jiggle jiggle hearken forth the world. You guys are something else. You guys are ridiculous. The elves, so there's no mention of religion anywhere in The Lord of the Rings because the professor was starkly Catholic. But the elves serve the Valar, and the Valar serve Eru Ilúvatar, who is the supreme creator of everything. Did Castle's goblins show up today? Nope, we've had no goblins for 3 whole story times. Erin says he's really 3'11". Shay is 5'3". You're exactly a foot taller than me, canonically. Castle, hand fasting is a traditional practice observed by certain Scottish individuals, particularly in the context of weddings and vows of renewal. It's an ancient Celtic custom that involves binding the hands in a couple of cords or ribbons, signifying their union. Although it's not legally binding in its own right, hand fasting is frequently incorporated into wedding ceremonies. Jesus, that is loud. This, hang on, I need to change the music real quick, guys, because this is ludicrously loud, and it keeps going from very quiet to very loud. We're gonna do... Nope, stop that. Undo soundscapes. Hopefully that's not as loud. My height has decreased from 5'11" to 5'7" as we age. We naturally experience a height reduction. I heard it gradually coming in and was preparing for a boss fight or something. 5'8" here in Cannon. Well, I tried to keep the music low so that it's really just there for the lulls, because like sometimes it gets very, very loud for no real reason. I will not go into height, same as the age thing. Yeah, I rarely will tell people how old I am because the way that I work, when younger people find out how old you are, they lose respect for you because of how old you are. And when older people find out how old you are, they lose respect for you because they think you're too young. So I just don't let age become a factor in anything that I do. Milo will still worship the chair. I'm 4'9" and I've been told to try Miracle Grow. Probably won't work, Molly. Probably will not work. Sounds very relaxing. I'm old, but young. I've been an old man since I was like 17 years old, so none of the above. Finally caught up with chat. Yeah, you guys have been rolling tonight, and it's good. I love me a rowdy tavern. Yes, me too. The blessing of the four directions and rose quartz ceremony, the oathing stone ceremony. Oh, that's right. That's what we were talking about. Like for the hand binding, for hand fasting. Part of the trial to become married is that you have to hand braid the cord with your intended, and it's a beautiful part of the ceremony, and it's something that requires patience and cooperation, and it has to be done together. So, all right, let's get back to reading, friends. I have waffled in your ears enough. I hate when people ask my age or other info. It's not even. It doesn't particularly bother me. I just don't entertain it. Because people are naturally going to be curious about things. They want to know how old you are. They want to know how tall you are. They want to know what you do for work. That's just normal human interaction. I don't mind the things. I just don't make it a factor when I meet with people. When I'm getting to know people and I'm talking to them, I will keep those factors that people tend to judge on out of the conversation. And if people want to know this, there are very few people who know when my birthday is, and there are even fewer people who know how old I am. And of the few people, because I've never celebrated my birthday, and I don't particularly care to have it celebrated. So the only time that anything ever gets brought up around that time is when the lady decides that she wants to celebrate my birthday. That's it. Other than that, her and my brother are the only ones who really make a deal out of it. And because of that, it doesn't bother me. I'm 31 years jail-free. I cannot say the same. I've been in jail far too many times. Do you work at the tavern regularly? I'd love to come and pick your brain. I am the master of the tavern, as a matter of fact, Ashley. I tell stories regularly. You can find videos that we've posted. And I tell stories here in the portals twice a week. And then the lovely lady of the tavern, she does it on Saturdays. And if you ever wanted to migrate over to Twitch, we have a little bit more of a relaxing thing we do on Mondays and Wednesdays where we talk about games and movies and whatnot. I am many years shackle-free. You're either a winter baby or a summer baby, I'm calling it. See, I love me the winter. I prefer the winter all the time. I've never gone to jail yet unless you count Monopoly. Thank you, I'll come see you soon. Can't wait to meet the lady of the tavern. Absolutely a pleasure, Ashley. We're glad that you were able to join us. And I believe that you have followed, because if you have, you've marked us on your map. And you should be able to find your way back to the tavern the very next time that you seek a story, if you're leaving. If you're sticking around for more stories, we'll be all right. But if you're off, it was good to have you, and we'll look forward to seeing you back again. And you can always go into the comments of videos or join the broadcast channel over on Facebook, and you can request. I often put out polls asking people what they would like to see for story times. So I haven't done it in a while because all of the portals have been messed up and the goblins have been messing with my work equipment. My sneak and luck was leveled so high I avoided jail Got my arse beat a few times, though. It's been so hot down here in the south and rainy every day. Yeah, we've been in the 90s and 100s out here every single day, and it's been dreadful. Unfortunately, I can't say that I've never been to jail. Never been to prison. I managed to avoid that, but I was a very violent young man, and that led to a great many nights spent snuggling with individuals I'd rather not snuggle with. Made this far in life without spending a night in jail. I'm not sure how, really. Well, as I often like to remind you all, is I have never been a good man. I've never been a good person, and it's only been in recent years when I have the forbidden snuggles, indeed. Yes, it's only been in recent years when I have taken to being more responsible with my own health and my own time that those have not been the truth. And I've never intentionally gone out of my way to cause undue suffering, but again, I've not always been a good man. You're a saint to us, a saint ordained by the chair. The chair has very low standards for sainthood, I suppose. Well, I guess if you're looking at the Bible, Paul was basically an executioner, so there's that. Alright, let's get on with story time. I've waffled enough. A warm fire filled the room with a cozy glow. Gardan and Dominic rested in large chairs before the fireplace, while Kasumi sat on cushions, Surani fashion. For anyone who wasn't here for the first two books, Kasumi, who is sitting Surani fashion, comes from another world, and he was transported into this world in the previous books, and that world is basically like a combination of Egypt, Mesopotamia, or Macedonia and Japan, really, and it's very, very neat. More waffles. If the thefts keep happening, that may finally charge. Trying to stay out of jail and prison, I strongly recommend. Saints aren't perfect people. They usually, I guess that's true. A lot of people attribute saints like Patrick and Benedict of Kildare as being bad people. They no evidence that they'd ever done anything bad. Johnny Pokérap, not this evening, Wesley. This is indeed not Harry Potter. You will note a very obvious sign that we are not reading Harry Potter, as well as another very obvious sign that we're not reading Harry Potter. They say Jesus hung out with hookers. We all have sketchy friends somewhere. It's fair enough. Blue Mountain Dragon, hello! Good to see you. Welcome in. All Patty did was get rid of the snakes. I think you've done more than that. It's okay. The signs were subtle, Wesley. The signs were subtle. Colgan is the magician from the first book, by the way. Some of those sketchy friends turned out to be best friends. Jesus' whole deal was lifting up the oppressed and the marginalized, and teaching people that they were responsible for their own communities, and that it was their job to be good, not just to expect good. You have to be good, because you are not. Innately, you are not. Isn't this the newest one in the Harry Potter series? Yeah, this is Harry Potter and the Silverthorn. It's the most recent release. It's Harry Potter Book 9, newly released. Harry Potter and the Silverthorn. Come back on Thursday, Wesley. I will be on time, if not early, on Thursday, and we will have Harry Potter. Colgan dressed the captain's burns, fussing like a mother over her idiot child. The two had known each other for years. At Crydy, well enough for Colgan to take a rough tone with the captain.
you could be foolish enough to grab onto one of those things, anyone knows that contact with an elementally dependent creature, when it returns to a primal state, involves releasing energies, mostly heat and light.
Godan, tired of being scolded, said,
Well, I didn't know. Kasumi, did you know, Dominic?
Kasumi sat laughing as Dominic said,
As a matter of fact, I did know. You're no help at all, priest,
muttered the captain.
Kogan, if you're done, can we eat? I've been smelling that hot food for nearly an hour, and it's close to making me go mad.
Pug laughed, leaning against the wall next to the hearth. Captain, it's more like 10 minutes. They were sitting in a room in the first floor of a large building under construction. Kasumi said,
I'm glad the king permitted me to visit your academy, Pug. And I as well,
said Brother Dominic.
While we at South appreciate those copies of works you've forwarded to us so far, we are still vague about what your plans are. We seek to know more.
Pug said,
I'm pleased to host any who come with love of learning, Brother Dominic. Perhaps someday we may claim repayment for our slight hospitality and visit your fabled library.
Corgan's head came around at that.
I would be pleased to claim that right, friend Dominic. Any time you call, you'll be welcome,
answered the monk.
What's this one?
Said Gardon with a tilt of his head towards Corgan.
Lose him in the underground vaults, and you'll never find him. He has a passion for books, as a bear for honey.
A striking woman with dark hair and large dark eyes entered the room, followed by 2 servants. All carried platters with food, and as she placed hers upon the long table at the other end of the room, from where the men were gathered, she said,
Please, it is time for supper.
Pug said,
Brother Dominic, this is my wife, Katala.
She smiled at him. The monk nodded deferentially and said,
My lady?
She smiled at him.
Please, Katala. We tend to do the informal here.
The monk again inclined his head as he came to the indicated chair. He turned at the sound of a door opening, and for the first time since the captain had met him, the monk's composure cracked. William came hurrying into the room, and the green-scaled form of Fantis behind.
Ishab's mercy! Is that a fire drake?
William ran to where his father stood and hugged him, eyeing the newcomers cautiously. Kogan said, This is Fantis, lord of his estate. The rest of us live here by his servants, though he suffers William's company best. The drake's gaze shifted to Kogan for a moment, as if he agreed totally. Then his large red eyes returned to contemplating the table and what lay upon it. So this is something that's interesting that Feist did that I think makes the book world feel really lived in. Fantis is a fire drake. Okay, apparently I missed something over here. Yep, I know someone who does that well. Long story short, my mom's neighbour looks out for her. He is a very good bloke. His wife is dying of cancer, yet he still has the time to look out for mom and help me out when I need it. I cook up a big pot of beef stew, page 82 of the festival's book. Got you right here, Bear. Got you right here. Bear is referencing Mine and the Ladies Festival book. This covers the festivals of the year as my family celebrates them today, based on traditions of more than 500 years of practice and culture. Now, in the back, I have included some of our family's recipes, as well as some of the traditions that we undergo in them. And Bear is the biggest perpetuator of the book, probably. Bear and Destiny have a tie for it. Kayla, hello. Thank you for sending the love. Tips to the Tavern Keeper, always appreciated. Thank you for the heart me and the roses. And Tiff, thank you kindly for the roses as well. Thank you. I'm glad that we finally have the portals all leveled out. A very frustrating day at work, and I just screamed. Well, I'm glad that you can make it in, and I'm very glad to see you here, Kayla. I'm sorry you had a bad day. Hopefully the stories will make it better. But yes, if anybody is interested in celebrating the festivals as our families do, it is Norse Gaelic Festivals by me, JD Castle. I dropped him over 3 large containers of it for when he doesn't have time to cook. Damn fine thing of you to do, Bear. Damn fine of you to do. My laptop is acting up bad right now. Treat it nicely. That's what we do all of our work on, Sage. It is awesome, isn't it, Molly? The bear is a Papa Bear all the way through. Sometimes I presume he even Mama Bears a little bit, but he's definitely a Papa Bear all the way through. 100% worth the buy. Great book. Thank you, Ashley. I appreciate you. Yes, so it's just a small handbook. It's not exhaustive, but it's meant to be like a starter's guide for people who want to celebrate the way my family does. Now, there are some things in here that are common traditions. You'll find them in other books that talk about these festivals. But it's all the festivals of the year that we celebrate, and as we celebrate them, it's got a little bit of the common history, a little bit of the history of how my family celebrates them, as well as a festival that I believe only we celebrate called Haltisha Duv, which is the Festival of Many Lights, or the Festival of Dark Light. And you can get it, I think, for $5 as a digital book, or I think it's something like $8 American for this nice soft copy of it. I think that's the digital book I won from you guys during the readathon, and somehow I lost the file. I need to just buy one soon. I would like a physical copy. I can resend you the digital file if you want it though, Milu, because you did win it, so I'm happy to send you another copy of the digital book so you have it. But Bear, Ashley, and Destiny all fervent advocates of the hard copy of the book. I didn't ask him if he wanted it. I just handed him the bag and told him when I do a lamb one, I'll drop that over as well. Sounds delicious. Thank you, Destiny. I appreciate you. Very kind. Alright, where was I? Oh, I was saying about Fantas. Fantas is a fire drake in the world of the magician. And Fantas does almost nothing in the story except sort of exist as a background and side feature. But it makes the world feel more lived in because Fantas is this fixture thing that sort of influences things in the story and gives you this notion of the fantastical, but it doesn't need, like, it doesn't have any overwhelming notion. Is there that much of a difference between the Canadian dollar and the American dollar? That's insane. Very interesting. I would say more than a bit of a Papa Bear. You Papa Bear all the way around. I'll be ordering that after payday. Thank you, Milo. It is appreciated. Thank you kindly. Well, we didn't. Our goal was not to make any money off of it. Like, I think our margin, I think we make like $1 or something off of each book. We probably make a little bit more than that off the digital ones, but I think we make $1 off of each book. And we really weren't trying to make any money with it. We just wanted to be able to share the traditions, because you all love the traditions of my family so much, and I love that you guys like those traditions so much, and I I just wanted to share it. So our goal was never really to make money with it. We just wanted to. For this, I'm happy to just share it. If I could give them away for free, I would. But I don't have any way to distribute them that way. But for our future books, we'll charge a fair price. But for those, I'm more excited to be able to share the traditions with you all than anything else. Yeah, Bear, you've bought quite a few, that's for sure. Richard, you said, good night, everyone. Love talking to you, but I have to give my dogs their midnight snack. Good news is at least 2 of them are watching their boyish figures. All right, Richard, it was wonderful to have you. Have a good night, my friend. Rest well. I would love to give tips. I have 1,000, 2,000 dental teeth cleaning for Elsie's vets. Truly expensive. Esther, the amount of time you spend with us, and you've tipped quite a bit in the past. I appreciate you being here. Your presence is more than enough tip for me all the way across the board. Oh, Kayla, I didn't see that you sent a Deanie. Thank you for the Deanie over on TikTok. Appreciate you for that. And I appreciate all of the love and attention you give the tavern, Esther. It means the world. Well, and we've spent a very long time making sure that you guys know that we do this for the love of the stories, not because we're trying to exploit people who care about us and who like what we do. When we make other things, we will make sure that it's a fair price. Again, I don't want everyone to be exploitative in the way that we price things. If we release stuff that are limited runs, they will be priced in such a way. And I want to make sure that as many of you as can get the things do, more so than I want to make money off of them. Obviously, I want to make money. Don't get me wrong, I am a greedy bastard. I love me some money. I love me some money. I'm not. Don't get me in the wrong. Don't get me in the wrong category. I love money, and I love to build and buy things. I love to make things, but I don't believe in charging people things. I don't believe in charging people for things that are not worth the money. If I'm going to make a lot of money off of something, it's because I sold something that was worth the money. I have more pride in the quality of my craftsmanship than I do desire to have money. I still need to order a hoodie too. They are still up. Ads in 3 minutes on Twitch. I want all the limited things. I just checked book 2 has 52,000 words so far. We'll just run the ad right now on Twitch so that it can be done and over with. I hope you understand that I give and support because I want to. I do, Bear, and I appreciate the hell out of it. And I hope you guys always know that I only ever want to put out things that I know will be worth the money that you guys spend on it. Yeah, we put out Tavern. Right now it's just the Tavern shirts. So there's Tavern shirts and hoodies and all of that. You do plenty to support. You guys, every one of you who shows up on the regular and makes this a wonderful place to be, you guys are the backbone of the tavern, and we appreciate the hell out of you. Thank you, Castle. Elsie mentioned that if there's any remaining money, she'll provide you with a tip. Thank you, Esther. I appreciate you. I appreciate that. Yes, there are. Okay, things seem calm on my end. Yes, they are. See what you've created. I will buy a shirt when I come in. Thank you kindly, Ashley. It's appreciated. We've gone so long I don't recognize some of the new faces. There are quite a few new folks, that's for sure. Yeah, I mean, like, it's not that the lady and I don't like money. Our plan is to build an artisan village, and this isn't some lofty, out there plan. We will build a place where you can visit the physical tavern, come in and have a drink, enjoy a story, have some food, cultural food, and we want to build, along with the tavern, a artisan village where people can experience my family's culture and come and experience traditional crafts, where we can also work on keeping those traditional crafts alive. That's not something that would be cheap to do. That's something that will cost us probably $5 to $10 million to do. But it is something that we want to do. So I'm not opposed to money. I love money. I love being able to buy things. But again, I care more about my reputation and the quality of the things I make than I do about making easy money. Because with the following we have, we could probably make a good deal of money off of it, taking sponsorships and selling things all the time. We've got, across everything, I think 300,000 people who follow us. And it would be very easy to just peddle things and make money that way. But that's not what we want to do. We want to make things that you guys will treasure and keep for a long time. Things that you care about. I will introduce myself accordingly when I come in. I feel like I belong here. If you feel like you belong here, Ashley, then you found yourself a seat. And every time that the portal's open, you will have that seat prepared and ready for story time. Castle, could you please provide me with a list of merchants you have in inventory and indicate whether they are available to export to Australia? Esther, if you go to the tavern site in the shop, it should let you know which things are available to ship to Australia and which ones are not. Oh, that's right. Petra had asked if there were more tankards. We have not acquired more tankards, but we likely will in the next month or so. Or we plan on restocking tankards in the next month or so. Because the lady had been mentioning that as well. So now that we're back up and running, because we did just spend a lot of money to get the magic boxes up and running again, and to get our portal connection stable, we spent lot of money. Thankfully we had it, but it was pretty much all we had set aside. It took us to get things back and up and running again. Of course, Esther, and if you need a link, message me and I'll send you the link to the things. But we should be able to afford getting the tankards back in stock soon. Yeah. There are instructions with the washing of it, so just make sure you follow the instructions. You can dry it in the dryer on very low heat, but don't dry it on high heat. We could probably do a pre-order run. That's true. We could probably do. That's what we did last time. Because we don't make the taverns. We have another company make them. The tankards. We don't make the tankards. Another company makes them. But again, I like to make sure that whatever we're sending out is of good quality. And I could just drop ship the tankards, but I like to get them first and make sure that they're not broken and make sure that the quality is good before I mail them out. And I like to put letters with all of the things when they're being ordered and whatnot. So the lady and I like to have personal touches with the things that we send out. So that's very important to us. And I know I'm being unnecessarily pedantic with the way that I do things, but the lady and I take great pride in what we make and where we send it. I am with Ancient Grounds Cafe in Aztec, and we're remodeling at the moment, so I completely understand the cost of keeping a business running. It is, and we lost a month's worth of work because of a couple of different things, so we are behind. We're fine. I'm not trying to say that we're not, because we are doing okay. But the lady and I have a lot of work to get back up to where we were again after all of the things that we had to spend. Again, we're grateful that we had the money to do what we needed to do. And, it took pretty much all we had, but we are glad that we had it. You and me both, Castle. I like to give things a personal touch. Absolutely, Matty. Us too, yeah. And I think that that's really important today in the ever-growing space of things being less and less human. I think that those human connections are all the more important now than they ever have been. In my opinion. That is how the lady and I look at the world, and that's how we try to approach it. Alright, let's get back to stories. Because we're probably only going to make it through one chapter tonight because I've been waffling so much. Yeah, we're only going to get one chapter because we still have another 20 pages to go before the end. So yeah, we've got a ways to go. A friend of my mom's is a wonderful leather worker. I've purchased a few things from him, but it takes a while because of his detail is what makes it worth the wait. He's currently making me a leather bracer with a pocket that holds about 3 cards and some cash. That's amazing. That's why we want to build this artisan village. Because we want to help keep these crafts alive. Like, we learn traditional crafts young in my family, and I would like to give those traditional crafts a place where they can thrive and survive, to be sure. Excellent, Ashley. Where is your coffee or your cafe at? Where is your cafe at? In what state, I should say? I always made sure to send a personal thank you to people who ordered from our little business. It's one of those things. It was more or less around tonight, Milu. Castle, I love the Black Dragon Tavern pet hoodie. The lady had those made specifically for you and Elsie, and I don't know that those shipped to Australia, Esther, but she literally designed that specific thing for you, Esther. Aztec, New Mexico. I am currently the location where we are right now, because we don't actually have a physical tavern as of yet. But right now we are in Southern California, so you're not actually terribly far away from us. We really need one night occasionally just for chatting, tavern background, and shoot the shit. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm looking at adding another day where we do that and we just talk about stories and movies and whatnot. I have the letters you sent with the tangers that's painted on my wall. You flatter me deeply, Tyson. You flatter me deeply. Cheers to that. Alright, back to stories. Yeah, that's true. Just the way it is. The Drake's gaze shifted to Colgan for a moment, as if he agreed totally. Then his large red eyes returned to contemplating the table and what lay upon it. Pug said, "William, say hello to Kasumi." William bowed his head slightly, smiling. He spoke in the Surani tongue, and Kasumi answered, laughing. Dominic looked interested, and Pug said, "My son is fluent in both the King's tongue and the Surani tongue. My wife and I keep him practicing both. For many of my works are in the Surani language, and this is one of the problems I have in bringing the art of the Greater Path to Midkemia. Much of what I do is a result of how I think, and I think magic in the Surani language. William's going to be of great help someday, aiding me in discovering ways to do magic in the King's tongue, so I can teach those who live here." Katala said, "Gentlemen, the food grows cold." "And my wife does not permit talking of magic at this table," said Pug. Colgan snorted at this, and Katala said, "If I did, these two would hardly get a mouthful." Gardon moved with alacrity, despite his discomfort, saying, "I don't have to be warned more than once." And he sat down, and immediately one of the servants began filling his platter. Dinner proceeded pleasantly, with talk of small things, as if the terrors of the day had vanished with the night. All mention of the grim events that had brought Gardon, Dominic, and Kasumi to Starrock were ignored. Nothing about Arutha's quest, the threat of Mermandamus, or the portent of the Abbey was said. For a short time, no discord existed. For a brief hour, the world was a pleasant place with old friends and new guests, enjoying one another's company. Then William was making his good nights. Dominic was struck by the resemblance between the boy and mother, though his manner of moving and speaking was in open imitation of his father. Fantis had been fed from William's plate and padded out of the room behind him. "I can hardly credit my senses where that Drake is concerned," said Dominic after they had left.
"He's been Colgan's pet, for as long as I can remember," said Gardon.
Colgan, who was lighting a pipe, said,
"Ha! No longer. That boy and Fantus have been inseparable since the day they met."
Catalda said.
There's something beyond the ordinary with those two. At times, I think they understand each other.
Dominic said,
Lady Catala, there is little about this place which is not beyond the ordinary. This gathering together of magicians, this construction, this is all extraordinary.
Pug rose and led the others to chairs near the fire. But understand that upon Caliban, when I studied at the assembly, what you see aborning here was ancient and established. The brotherhood of magicians was an accepted fact, as was the common sharing of knowledge. Did I miss something? What? I guess not. I thought I heard something drop in, but apparently I'm just being insane. Colgan puffed contentedly upon his pipe, which
Is as it should be.
Pug said, we can discuss the rise of the Academy at Stoddart tomorrow, when I can show you our community. I'll read the messages from Arutha and the Abbot tonight. I know all that led up to Arutha's leaving Crondor, Gardan, what occurred between there and Sarth. The captain, who had been feeling drowsy, forced himself alert and quickly told the events from Crondor to Sarth. Brother Dominic remained silent, since the captain forgot nothing of significance. Then it was the monk's turn. As he explained what he knew of the attack upon the abbey, when he had finished, Pug and Colgan asked several questions about the withheld comment. Pug said, this news you carry is cause for our deepest concern. Still, the hour is late, and I think there are others upon this island who should be consulted. I suggest we show these tired and sore gentlemen to their rooms and begin discussing in earnest tomorrow. Gardan, who could feel a yawn beginning, stifled it and nodded. Kasumi, Brother Dominic, and the captain were escorted from the room by Colgan, who bade the others good night. Pug left the fireside and crossed to the window, but he stood watching the little moon's light reflecting off the water as it peeked through the cloud cover. Catola came up behind her husband, and her arms went around his waist.
You're troubled by this news, husband?
It was a statement, not a question.
As always, you know my mind.
He turned within the circle of her arms and drew her closer, smelling the sweetness of her hair as he kissed her cheek.
I hoped we would live out our lives with the building of this academy, and the raising of our children, our only concerns.
She smiled up at him, dark eyes mirroring the unending love she felt for her man.
Among the Thuriel, we have a saying, life is problems, living is solving problems.
He smiled at this. She said,
Still, it is true. What do you think of the news Kasumi and the others have brought?
I don't know. He stroked her hair. Lately, I've felt a growing gnawing feeling inside. I've thought it's simply worry over the progress we make here in building. But it is more than that. My nights have been filled with dreams.
I know, Pug. I've seen you struggle in your sleep. You have yet to speak to me of them.
He looked at her. I had no wish to trouble you, love. I thought them mere ghosts of memories from times of trouble. But now I'm not so sure. One returns with frequency, coming more often lately. A voice in a dark place cries out to me. It seeks my aid and begs for help. She said nothing, for she knew her husband and would wait until he was ready to share his feelings. Finally, he said,
I know the voice, Katala. I've heard it before. When the time of troubles was full upon us, at its most dreadful moment, when the outcome of the Rift War hung in the balance, and the fate of two worlds rested upon my shoulders. It's Macros. It's his voice I hear.
Katala shivered and hugged her husband close. The name of Macros the Black, whose library served as the seed for this growing academy of magic, was one she knew well. Macros, Pug, nor of the lesser path like Hogan. Macros was the mysterious sorcerer, neither of the greater path like Pug nor of the lesser path like Hogan, but something else. He had lived long enough to seem eternal, and he could read the future. He had always had a hand in the conduct of the Rift War, playing some cosmic game with human lives for stakes only he understood. He had read Midkemia of the Rift, the magic bridge between the world of her home world and her new one. She nestled closer to Pug, her head on his chest. Most of all, she knew why Pug was troubled. Macros was dead. Alright, we're going to stop right here for a second, friends. I'm going to get up and stretch. I just realised I've been sitting for an hour and a half. So I'm going to get up and stretch right quick. And then when I come back, we'll finish the chapter out. And then at the end, we'll do some songs. I somehow forgot I have fire-breathing lizard chickens in my story. Or just cockatrices. Yeah, that would be the way. And hydrate. Thank you, Ashley. Appreciate you for that. Thank you kindly. Castle, once I've determined the remaining funds, fingers crossed, all will proceed smoothly. I would like to contribute a tip to the tavern and purchase a hoodie for Elsie. Thank Una for providing this assistance, Elsie. Of course, Esther. And again, you never need to feel pressured to tip us at all, and anything that you guys do is absolutely appreciated. But we're just glad to have you all here, and the more that you all are here, and the more that you watch, and the more that you enjoy, the better off the tavern does. The more, very much so, and again, I've said this before, if you have a creator that you really enjoy, liking, watching their stuff all the way through, sharing it, and commenting on it is some of the best things that you can do for them, because that tells the platforms that those are really good videos, and they will push them out to more people, and that's how we succeed. So whatever you guys contribute, whether it is those things, or whether you tip directly, or whether you buy merchandise, all of those things are deeply appreciated by the lady and I. I'm going to put you guys on a Be Right Back screen. And I will be right back. I'm going to pop up and stretch. I'm going to get another water. And then I will return. So wait for me. It'll be about 5 minutes. I'll run another ad for you guys over on Twitch so that you don't have to have any more ads for the rest of Storytime. And then we'll be right back, okay? Give me just a second. All right, my friends, we have returned. And yeah, Bear, I presume you and Esther are talking about the cost of the pet hoodies. Yeah, the lady was quite upset. She could not find a printer in Australia that would make them, because she quite literally made them at the request of Esther. She wanted Esther to be able to get the pet hoodie for Elsie. She made them specifically for that reason, and there were no printers that made them in Australia. I'll have her check again to see if any have opened up, but when she put it up there was none. Faywitch, hello, welcome in, it's good to see you, welcome back. And hello to everyone else, I'm back from my break. Well, that's the problem, Destiny, is like, we could have it just shipped to us. But the problem is that the shipping from here to there is like $40. So even if we got it printed and shipped to us, it would still be another $40 to ship it out to Australia. Shipping into Australia is just ridiculously expensive from the United States, and all of the countries that had the printing available, it was ridiculously expensive. Elizabeth, hello, welcome in. So very glad that you could join us, and I saw Thomas dropped in as well. Welcome in, friends. So very glad that you could all join us. Yeah, the shipping cost to Australia is just exorbitant. And most shippers charge ridiculous amounts of money. So we have to find local ones, and we did find a couple of local shirt and like hoodie printers. Like the people who do, we found printers that would keep the same quality and do the shirts and the hoodies. But for the animal hoodies, they require a specialized printer. And the only ones we could find were not in Australia, unfortunately. Just curious, would a goddess of matter be able to manipulate the elements too? I've asked Destiny, but this is bothering. I think that if you do a goddess of matter, that's basically a god or goddess of creation. So that is, if you're doing god or goddess of matter, that's a god or goddess of creation. Because to control and manipulate matter is to be able to control creation itself. So you're playing a dangerous game with a power that great. Damn shame, Castle. I hope in the near future we can buy to support you. I hope that I will have the lady check again to see if she can find any local printers that will do it. But the last time when we did the first run and she looked, it was, yeah. So yeah, if somebody had control over matter, say that 5 times fast, it would literally be control over all things in existence, because all things constitute matter. Matty manipulation, yeah. Mario Gomez, thank you for following over on YouTube. It's wonderful to have you. So very glad that you have found us here in the tavern and you've marked us on your map. So you should be able to find your way back. Alright, friends. Let us continue with Silverthorn. We are... Let's see... We have about 15 pages left. So we got about an hour to finish 15 pages. Yeah, for some reason shipping between Australia and the United States is ridiculous. I don't know why that is. I guess it's just because of the nature of the trade. But there's just, yeah. I've had to mail a couple of things to Australia. We have a friend out there named Jared who, he hasn't been in a while, but he's a dear friend of the Lady and I's. And the shipping is always ludicrous. Like sending small packages is upwards of $40 odd. And I've sent larger things that cost me like $170 just to ship something. The thing itself only constituted I think it was only a couple of pounds, but it cost me over almost $200 to ship it. Shipping to Greece, to anyone in Europe from the United States is expensive, and shipping anywhere from Europe to the United States is expensive, but not quite as expensive as going to Australia. Does matter have mass? I'm sure they are Catholic. I'm not sure, are they Catholic? That's very funny, Bear. That's very funny. Okay, let's continue. Gardan, Kasumi, and Dominic stood at ground level admiring the work proceeding above. Workers contracted in Shamata were laying course after course of stone, building up the high walls of the academy. Pug and Colgan stood nearby, inspecting the newest plans submitted by the master builder, in charge of construction. Colgan motioned for the newcomer to join them.
This is all vital to us. So you will please indulge us a bit, I trust,
said the stout mage.
We've been at work for only a few months, and we're anxious to see the work uninterrupted.
Gardan said,
This building will be immense. 25 stories tall, several higher towers for observing the heavens,
Dominic said.
That is incredible. Such a building could house thousands.
Colgan's blue eyes sparkled merrily.
From what Pug has told me, it is but a part of what he knew in the city of magicians in the other world. There's an entire city that has grown together into a single gigantic edifice. When we have completed our work years from now, we shall have only 1/20th part of that or less. Still, there is room to grow, if needs be. Someday, perhaps, the Academy will cover this entire island of Stardock.
The master builder left, and Pug said, I am sorry for the interruption, but some decisions needed to be made. Come, let's continue the inspection. Following the wall, they rounded a corner to come upon a group of buildings looking like nothing so much as a small village. Here they could see men and women in various manner of dress, Kingdom and Keshin moving among the buildings. Several children played in a square at the centre of the village. One of them was William. Dominic looked about and saw Fantis lying near a doorway in the sunlight. A short distance away, the children were frantically trying to kick a bowl fashioned of rags bound in leather into a barrel. The game seemed devoid of rules of conduct or play. Dominic laughed at the sight.
I used to play the same game on 6 days when I was a boy.
Pug smiled.
As did I. Much of what we plan has yet to be implemented, so for the present, the children's duties are occasional things. They don't seem to mind. What is this place?
Asked Dominic.
For the time being, it is the home of our young community. The wing where Colgan and my family have our rooms, as well as some of our instruction rooms, is the only part of the academy ready for use. It was the first section completed, though construction still continues above on the upper floors. Those who travel to Stardock to learn and serve at the academy live here, until more quarters can be made ready in the main building. He motioned for them to follow him into a large building that dominated the village. William left the game and tagged along beside his father. Pug placed his hand upon the boy's shoulder. How are your studies today? The boy made a face.
Not so good. I gave up today. Nothing works as it should.
Pug's expression turned serious, but Colgan gave William a playful push back towards the game.
Run along, boy. Worry not. Your father was equally hard-headed when he was my student. It will come in time.
Pug half smiled.
Hard-headed,
Colgan said.
Perhaps slow-witted would be a better way to put it.
Entering the door, Pug said,
Till the day I die, Colgan, you will make sport of me.
The building turned out to be a hollow shell. Its only purpose seemed to be to house a large table running the length of it. The only other feature of the room was a hearth, The high ceiling was supported by rafter beams, from which hung lanterns that gave off a cheery vibe. Pug pulled out a chair at the end of the table, signalling for others to sit as well. Dominic was pleased with the fire. Even if it was late spring, this day was chilly. He said,
What of the women and children about?
Colgan withdrew his pipe from his belt and began to stuff the bowl with tobacco.
The children are the sons and daughters of those who've come here. We have plans to organise a school for them. But I have some strange notions about educating everyone in the kingdom someday, though I don't see universal education becoming the vogue. The women are either wives of magicians or magicians themselves. Women commonly regarded as witches.
Dominic appeared troubled.
Witches.
Colgan lit his pipe with a flame on the end of his finger and exhaled a cloud of smoke.
What is in the name? They practice magic. For reasons I do not understand, men have at least been somewhat tolerated for practicing magic in many places, while women have been driven from nearly every community where they are discovered to have had power.
Dominic said,
But it is held that witches gain their powers by serving dark forces.
Colgan waved the notion aside.
Nonsense! That is a superstition, if you forgive my being blunt. The source of their power is no more dark than your own, and their behaviour is usually a great deal kinder than that of some of the more enthusiastic, if misguided, servants of some temples.
Dominic said,
True, but you're speaking of a recognized member of a legitimate temple.
Colgan looked directly at Dominic.
Forgive the observation, but in spite of the Ashapian reputation for a more worldly view than that of other orders, your remarks are profoundly provincial. So what if these poor wretches do not toil within a temple? If a woman serves in a temple, she's holy. She comes to her power in a hut in the woods, she's a witch. Even my old friend Father Tully would swallow that piece of dogmatic tripe. You're not speaking of any inherent question of good or evil. You're talking about who's got a better guild.
Dominic smiled.
You, then, seek to build a better guild?
Colgan blew out a cloud of smoke.
In a sense, yes. Though it's less the reason for what we do than is trying to codify as much magic lore as possible.
Dominic said,
Forgive my harsh questions, but one of my charges is to determine the source of your motivation. The king is your powerful ally, and our temple was concerned that there might be some hidden purpose behind your activities. It was thought, as long as I was coming here.
Pug finished. You might as well challenge what we do and see what we say. Kasumi said,
As long as I have known Pug, he has acted with honour.
Dominic went on.
Had I a single doubt, I would have said nothing now. That your purposes are only the highest is not in doubt, just...
Pug and Colgan both said,
What?
It is clear you seek to establish a community of scholars more than anything else. That in and of itself is laudable. But will you not always be here? Someday this academy could be a powerful tool in the wrong hands.
Pug said, We are taking every precaution to avoid that pitfall, believe me. Dominic said,
I do.
Pug's expression changed as if he had heard something.
They're coming,
he said. Colgan watched with rapt attention.
Kamina?
He asked in a whisper. Pug nodded, and Colgan made a satisfied sound.
The contact was better than ever. She grows in power each week.
Pug explained to the others.
Read the reports you brought last night, and have summoned here one who I think can help. With him comes another,
Colgan said.
The other is one able to send thoughts and receive them with remarkable clarity. At present, she's the only one we've found able to do so. Pug has told of a similar ability on Calawan, used during his training, but it required preparation of the subject.
We should all love randomly quoting the Holy Grail, which it should be common practice amongst all parts of culture, in my humble opinion. Have I missed anyone? I don't want. Elizabeth said, "Can you please tell us stories about Baba Yaga? Oh, please, not today, but sometime." I certainly can, Elizabeth. I would be absolutely pleased to do so. I really enjoy your ranting and waffling. I'm glad, Petra. I'm glad you all enjoy when I go off on tangents, because there's no stopping me once I get on a roll. The Holy Grail is a classic in its own right and worth many waters. Indeed it is. Bug said, "It is like the mind touch used by some priests, but there is no need for physical contact or even proximity. It seems, nor is there the attendant danger of being caught up in the mind of the one being touched. Gamina is a rare talent." Dominic was impressed, and Pug continued, "She touches the mind, and it's as if she speaks. We have hopes of someday understanding this wild talent and learning a way to train others to it." Corgan said, "I hear them approaching." He rose. "Please, gentlemen, Gamina is something of a timid soul. One who has undergone difficult times. Remember that and be gentle with her." Corgan opened the door and two people entered. The man was ancient, with a few stray wisps of hair, like white smoke falling to his shoulders. His hand was on the other's shoulder, and he walked stooped over, showing some slight deformity under his red robe. From the milky orbs that stared blankly ahead, it was obvious the old man was blind. But it was the girl who commanded their attention. She wore homespun and appeared to be 7 years old, a tiny thing who clutched at the hand upon her shoulder. Her blue eyes were enormous, illuminating a pale face of delicate features. Her hair was almost as white as the old man's, holding only a hint of gold. What struck Dominic, Gardan, and Kasumi was an overwhelming feeling that this child was perhaps the most beautiful they had ever seen. Already they could see those childish features, the promise of a woman of unsurpassed beauty. Colgan guided the old man to a chair to sit next to his own. The girl did not sit, but chose to stand beside the man, both hands on his shoulders, fingers flexing nervously as if she feared to lose contact with him. She looked at the three strangers with expression of a cornered wild thing, and she took no pains to disguise her distrust. Bug said, "This is Rogan." The blind man leaned forward. "Whom do I meet?" His face, despite the age it showed, was alive and smiling, uplifted as if to hear better. It was evident that he, unlike the girl, enjoyed the prospect of meeting the newcomers. Pug introduced the three men who sat opposite Colgan and Rogan. The blind man's smile broadened. "I am pleased to meet you, worthy gentlemen." Then Pug said, "And this is Gamina." Dominic and the others, startled when the girl's voice sounded in their heads. "Hello." The girl's mouth had not moved. She was motionless, her enormous blue eyes fixed upon them. Gardan said, "Does she speak?" Colgan answered, "With her mind. She has no other powers of speech." Rogan reached up and pat the girl's head. "Gamina was born with this gift, though she nearly drove her mother crazy with her silent crying." The old man's face became solemn. "Gamina's mother and father were stoned to death by the people of her village for having birthed a demon. Poor, superstitious people they were. They feared to kill the baby, thinking she would revert to her natural form and lay them all. So they left her in the forest to die of exposure.
She was not yet 3 years old.
Gamina looked at the old man with penetrating eyes. He turned to face her as if he could see her and said,
Yes, that is when I found you.
to the others he said,
I was living in the forest in an abandoned hunter's lodge I had discovered. I also was driven from my own village, but that was years earlier. I foretold the death of the town miller and was blamed for it. I was branded a warlock.
Pug said. Rogan has the power of second sight, perhaps to compensate for his blindness. He has been without sight since birth. Rogan smiled broadly and patted the girl's hand.
We are alike. We too, in many ways. I had grown to fear what would become of the girl when I die.
He interrupted himself to speak to the girl who had become agitated at his words. She stood shaking, her eyes welling up with tears.
Hush,
He said, and scolded gently.
I will too. Everyone does. I hope not too soon, though.
He added with a chuckle. He returned to his narrative.
We came from a village near Salador. When word reached us of this wondrous place, we started our journey. Took 6 months to walk here. Mostly because I am so old. Now we have found people like ourselves who view us as a source of knowledge, not a source of fear. We are home.
Dominic shook his head, amazed that a man his age and a child had walked hundreds of miles. He was obviously moved.
I'm beginning to understand another part of what it is you do here. Are there many more like these two?
Pug said. Not as many as I would like. Some of the more established magicians refuse to join us. Others fear us. They will not reveal their abilities. Others simply do not yet know we exist. But some, like Rogan, seek us out. We have nearly 50 practitioners of magic here.
That is a great many,
said Gardon. Kasumi said.
In the assembly there were 2,000 great ones.
Bug nodded. Just a moment, friends, just a moment. So loud. Castle, have you learned Got No Beard yet? I have not learned any new songs over the last 6 weeks, Beard, but I'm going to get back on practicing this next week. So I will push that one to the front of the line if you want to get on it. I will... Destiny, your husband calls you Baba Yaga. Baba Roga, I heard, is another name for Yaga in the Balkans. There are a couple of different versions of Baba Yaga throughout the things. Ashley, you said rants are the best. I'm glad that you guys enjoy them. Alright, where was I? Pug nodded. We also had nearly that number who followed the lesser path, and of those who rose to the black robe, the sign of a greater magician. But each was 1 in 5 who began training under conditions more rigorous than we are capable of here, or would desire. Dominic looked at Pug.
What of the others, those who failed their training?
They were killed, Pug answered flatly. Dominic judged it a topic Pug did not wish to pursue, so a flicker of fear crossed the girl's face, and Rogan said,
Hush, hush. No one will hurt you here. He was speaking of a faraway place. Somewhere you Someday you will be a great teacher.
The girl relaxed. A faint flicker of pride in her expression could be seen. It was obvious she doted upon the old man. Pug said, Rogan, there is something taking place that your powers may aid us in understanding. Will you help?
Is it that important?
I would not ask if it were not vital. Princess Anita lies in peril, and Prince Arutha is at constant risk from some unknown enemy. The girl became worried, or at least that was how Gardan and Dominic read her expression. Rogan cocked his head, as if listening, and then said,
I know it is dangerous, but we owe Pug a great deal. He and Colgan are the only hope for people like ourselves.
Both men appeared embarrassed by this, but said nothing.
Besides, Arutha is the king's brother, and it was their fault. It was their father who gave us this wonderful island to live on. How would people feel if they knew we could have helped but didn't?
Pug spoke softly to Dominic. Rogan's second sight is different from any I've heard of. Your order is reputed for some knowledge of prophecy. Dominic nodded. He sees probabilities is the best way I can describe it. What may happen. It seems to require a great deal of his energies, and though he is tougher than he looks, he's still quite old. It is easier if only one person speaks to him. As you have the best understanding of the nature of the magic that has occurred, I think it would be better for you to tell him all you know. Dominic agreed, and Pug said, if everyone else will remain silent. Rogan reached across the table and took the cleric's hands. Dominic was surprised at the strength remaining in those withered old fingers. While not able to foretell himself, Dominic was familiar with the processes performed by those of his order. He cleared his mind and then began to tell his story, from when Jimmy first ran afoul of the Nighthawk upon the rooftop, to when Arutha left South. Rogan remained silent. Gamina did not move. When Dominic spoke of the prophecy naming Arutha the bane of darkness, the old man shuddered and his lips moved silently. The mood in the room became ominous as the monk spoke. Even the fire seemed to dim. Gardan found he was hugging himself as he sat. All right, grab your snack. It's all right. PR Punk, thank you for the heart, me. I didn't see that come in, but thank you kindly. Tips to the tavern keeper are always appreciated, my friend. Thank you very much. When the monk halted, Rogan continued to clutch his hand, not allowing the other to pull away. His head was raised, neck arched slightly backwards, as if he were listening to something distant. His lips worked without sound for a while. Then slowly words were forming, though so quietly they were not distinguishable. All at once he spoke clearly, his voice firm.
There is a presence, a being. I see a city. A mighty bastion of towers and walls. Upon its walls stand proud men willing to defend it to the end. Now, it's a city under siege. We see it overwhelmed. With its towers ablaze, it's a city being murdered. A great savage host runs in its streets as it falls. Those who fight are sorely pressed and withdraw to a keep. Those who hurt and loot, all are not human. I see those of the dark path and their goblin servants. They roam the streets, their weapons dripping blood. I see strange ladders being raised to storm the keep, and strange bridges of blackness. Now it burns, all in flame. It is over.
There was a moment of silence, and then Rogan continued.
I see a host gathered on a plain, with strange banners flying, black-armored figures sitting silently on horseback, showing twisted shapes on shields and tabards. Above them stand a Mordrell.
The man's eyes teared.
He is beautiful. He is evil. He wears the mark of the dragon. He stands upon a hill, while below him armies march past singing battle songs. Great machines of war are pulled by miserable human slaves.
Again there was silence. Then
I see another city. The image shifts and wavers, for its future is less certain. Its walls lie breached, and its streets stained red. The sun hides its face behind grey clouds, and the city cries out in anguish. Men and women are chained in lines without end. They are whipped by creatures who taunt and torment them. They are herded into great squares, where they face their conqueror. A throne is erected atop a mound of bodies. Upon it sits the beautiful one, the evil one. At his side stands another. A black robe hides his features. Behind them, both, is another something. I cannot see it, but it is real, it exists. It is dark. It is insubstantial, without being not truly there, but it is also there. It touches the one on the throne. Rogan
tightly clutched Dominic's hands.
Wait,
He said, then hesitated. His hands began to tremble. Then, in piteous tones, nearly a sob, he cried,
oh gods of mercy, it can see me. It can see me.
The old man's lips trembled while Gamina clutched at his shoulders, eyes wide, holding him closely, terror written upon her little face. Suddenly Rogan's lips parted to emit a terrible groan, a sound of purest agony and despair, and his body went rigid. Without warning, a lance of fire, a stab of pure pain, erupted in the minds of all who sat in the room. Gamina screamed in silence. Gadan clutched his head, nearly fainting from the white-hot flash of searing agony. Dominic's face went ashen, and he reeled back in his chair under the onslaught of the cry, as if struck by a physical blow. Kasumi's eyes screwed closed as he fought to rise. Kogan's pipe fell slack from his lips as he clutched his temples. Pug staggered to his feet, using every shred of magic power to erect some sort of mental barrier against the tearing in his mind. He pushed back the blackness that sought to overwhelm him, reaching out to touch the girl. Gamina, he croaked. The girl's mental screaming continued unabated, and she tore frantically at the old man's tunic, a mindless act as if she sought somehow to snatch him back from whatever horror he faced. Her large eyes were wide, and her voiceless hysterics nearly drove those around her to madness. Pug lunged forward and grabbed her shoulders. Gamina ignored the touch, continuing to scream for Rogan. Mustering his powers, Pug forced aside the terror and pain of the girl's projected thoughts for a brief moment. Gadan's head fell forward onto the table, as did Kasumi's. Kogan lurched upright, then fell back into his chair, stunned. Besides Pug and Kamina, only Dominic had managed to retain consciousness. Something inside him had struggled to reach out to the girl, no matter how much he wished to, retreat from the pain being visited upon him by her. The girl's primitive terror nearly brought Pug to his knees, but he forced himself on. He cast a spell, and the girl fell forward. At once the pain ceased. Pug caught her. But the effort drove him back, and he staggered into his chair. He sat cradling the unconscious girl, stupefied by the onslaught. Dominic felt as if his head would burst, but hung on to consciousness. The old man's body was still rigid, nearly bowed back with pain, his lips working feebly. Dominic incanted a spell of healing, one used to cease pain, and finally Rogan went limp. seeming to collapse into his chair, but his face was still a mask of terror and pain. And he cried out in a hoarse whisper, words the monk could not understand before he lapsed into unconsciousness. Pug and the monk exchanged confused looks. Dominic felt blackness overtake him and, before he passed out, wondered why the magician suddenly looked so frightened. Good night, Sage. Rest well, brother. I'm so glad that you joined us. Congratulations on all the books, my friend. It's absolutely always lovely to have you in. Make sure you have a good night, and may you rise tomorrow ready to face the day. Cheers. It can see me. Can you imagine how terrifying that would be? If you were looking at a potential future, and then something in that potential future could see you? You tweak that goddess a bit into what, Matty? Also, to all of the new folk who have come in, I know there are a lot of new folk who are just lurking behind. Welcome in, everyone. I am Castle, this is my tavern, and here we talk about myth and lore and tales of yore, and every now and again, I read you all a bedtime story. Tonight we are in Silverthorn by Raymond Feist, and it is absolutely always a pleasure to have you all here in the tavern with all of us. No, it's just I don't always see the whole chat, Herring. So if there's something still on screen that is pertinent, I will address it when and we tend to rant a bit too more than a bit. We tend to rant quite a lot. Does goddess of Maleficium and Aether fit a goddess able to corrupt and wield the elements? It almost sounds like you're making like a dark avatar. Like from Avatar The Last Airbender, Matty. What I would recommend... Hazel, thank you for the follow over on TikTok, so very glad to have you. Welcome in. As I said, I am Castle, this is my tavern, and here... we explore myth and lore and tales of yore. You have marked us on your map, and so now you should be able to find your way back the very next time you need a story. And where you are is a tavern at the end of the world where all stories eventually come to rest. And we're glad to have you. And I'm Castle, again, by the way. Why don't you do a goddess of rot? Just and keep it very simple. A goddess of rot and decay, because then you're not worrying about all of these other things. And rot and decay can affect all elements. You can have decay in stone. You can have decay in plant life. You can have decay in water. Decay and rot affects all of the natural world. So a goddess of decay or rot would be primordial. And would be evil, could be seen as a dark side, especially if let out of control or overly emphasized, overly represented in a particular thing. All right, let's continue. Godon paced the room where they had dined the night before. Next to the fire, Colgan said, "You wear a furrow in the stones of the floor if you don't sit down." Kasumi rested quietly on a cushion beside the magician. Godon lowered himself next to the Surani and said, "Is this infernal waiting?" Dominic and Pug, with the aid of some of the healers in the community, were tending to Rogan. The old man had lain near death since he'd been carried from the meeting house. Yamina's mental scream had touched all within a mile of her, though striking those at a distance with less force. Still, several people near the building had been rendered senseless for a time. When the cries had stopped, those with their wits about them had rushed to see what had occurred. They had found all in the meeting house unconscious. Katala was soon on the scene and ordered them all carried to the quarters where she could oversee their care. The others had recovered in a few hours, but Rogan had not. The vision had begun in mid-morning, and now it was after supper. Gadon struck hand with fist and said,
Damn! I was never meant for this sort of business. I'm a soldier. These monsters of magic, these nameless powers. Oh, for an enemy of flesh and blood!
Too well do I know what you can do to a flesh and blood enemy, Kasumi said. Kogan looked interested, and Kasumi said, In the early years of the war, the captain and I faced one another at the Siege of Krydi. It wasn't until we were exchanging histories that I discovered he was second to Prince Arutha during the siege. Or he that I led the assault. The door opened and a large man entered, removing a great cloak. He was bearded and weather-beaten in appearance. He looked like a hunter or woodcutter. He smiled slightly and said, I go away for a few days, and look who wanders in. Oh, this is Meacham. I go away for a few days, and look who wanders in. Gadon's dark face broke into a broad smile, and he rose, extending his hand.
Meacham!
They shook, and the man called Meacham said, Well met, Captain. Kasumi followed suit, for Meacham was an old acquaintance. He was a franklin, a free man, with his own land in service to Kogan, though he was more of a friend to the magician than any sort of servant. Kogan said, Any luck? The forester absently stroked his scar on the left of his cheek and said, No, all fakes. Kogan said to the others,
We heard of a travelling caravan of fortune-tellers and gypsies, camped a few days this side of Londreth. I sent Meacham to discover if any of them were truly talented.
There was one, said Meacham. Might have been what he seemed, but he quieted down when I told him where I was from. Maybe he'll show up on his own hook. He looked around the room. All right. Anyone going to tell me what's going on here? As Kogan finished recounting everything to Meacham, the door opened and further conversation was interrupted. William entered, leaning Gamina by the hand. The old man's ward looked even more pale than when Gardan had seen her the day before. She looked at Kogan, Kasumi, and Gardan, and her voice entered their minds.
I'm sorry. I caused so much pain. I was frightened.
Kogan slowly extended his arms, and the girl gingerly allowed him to gather her up into his ample lap. With a gentle hug, he said,
Oh, it's all right, lass. We understand.
The others smiled at the girl reassuringly, and she seemed to relax. Fantis came padding into the room. William threw him a quick look and said,
Fantis is hungry.
Meacham said, The beast was born hungry.
No,
came the thought.
he said he was hungry. No one remembered to feed him today, I heard.
Kogan gently held the little girl away from him so he could look at her.
What do you mean?
He told William he was hungry just now. I heard him.
Kogan looked at William.
William, can you hear Fantis?
William looked at Kogan with a curious expression.
Of course. Can't you? They talk to each other all the time.
Kogan's face became animated.
This is wonderful. I had no idea. No wonder you two have been so close. William, how long have you been able to speak to Fantis this way?
The boy shrugged.
Ever since I can remember, Fantis has always talked to me.
And you could hear them speak to each other? Gamina nodded. Can you speak to Fantis?
No, but I can hear him when he talks to William. He thinks funny. It's hard.
Godon was astonished by the conversation. He could hear Gamina's answers in his head, as if he were listening, from observing the girl's private remarks to Rogan the other day. He realized that she obviously was able to speak with whomever she chose in a selective way. William turned toward the Drake.
All right,
He said in aggravated tones. He said to Corgan,
better go to the kitchen, get him something. Can Gamina stay here?
Corgan gave the girl a gentle hug and nestled her deep into his lap. Course! William dashed from the room and Fantis hurried after, the prospect of a meal motivating him to an atypical display of speed. When they were gone, Corgan said, Gamina, can William speak to other creatures besides Fantis?
I don't know. I'll ask him.
They watched in fascination as the girl's head cocked to one side, as if she were listening to something. After a moment, she nodded.
He said only sometimes. Most animals aren't very interesting. They think a lot about food and other animals is all.
Corgan looked as though he had been given a present. This is wonderful! Such a talent! We've never heard a case of a human communicating directly with animals. Certain magicians have hinted at such an ability in the past, but never like this. We shall have to investigate this fully. Amina's eyes widened as her face took on an expectant look. She sat up and her head came around to face the door, and an instant later, Pug and Dominic entered. Both looked weary, but there was no sign of sorrow. Corgan and the others had feared. Before the question could be asked, Pug said, He still lives, though he was deeply afflicted. He noticed Gamina in Corgan's lap and looked as if the physical contact was somehow vital to her. Are you better? Pug asked. She ventured a slight smile and a nod. Some communication passed between them, and Pug said, I think he will recover. Catola will stay at his side, Brother Dominic has proved a great help, where he is versed in healing arts. But Rogan is very old, Gamina, and if he doesn't recover, you must understand and be strong. Amina's eyes rimmed with moisture, but she nodded slightly. Pug came over and drew up a chair, as did the monk. Pug seemed to notice the addition of Meacham for the first time, and they greeted each other. A quick introduction to Dominic was made, and then Pug said, Gamina, you could be a big help to us. Are you willing?
How?
There was never been an occurrence like today's, to my knowledge. I must know what made you so afraid for Rogan. There was something in Pug's manner that revealed deep concern. He masked it well, so as not to distress the child, but still wasn't completely hidden. Gamina looked frightened. She shook her head, and something passed between the little girl and Pug. Pug said, Whatever it was, it could make the difference in Rogan's living. Something we do not understand is involved in this. We should know about it. Gamina bit her lower lip slightly. Godon was struck by the fact that the girl was showing considerable bravery. From what little he had heard of the girl's lot, it had been a terrible one. To grow up in a world where people were always suspicious and hostile, and those thoughts were always heard, must have kept the child on the edge of madness. For her to trust these men at all bordered on the heroic. Rogan's kindness and love must have been endless to counterbalance the pain this child had known. Godon thought that if any man deserved the occasional bestowal of the title saint the temples used for their heroes and martyrs, then it was Rogan. More conversation passed between Pug and Gamina. All silent, and finally Pug said, So, speak so we all might hear. All these men are your friends, child, and they will need to hear your story to stop Rogan and the others from being hurt again. Gamina nodded.
I was with Rogan.
What do you mean? Asked Pug.
When he used his second sight, I went with him.
How are you able?
Said Corgan.
Sometimes, when someone thinks things or sees things, I can see or hear what they do. It's hard when they aren't thinking at me. I can do it best with Rogan. I can see what he saw in my mind.
Colgan pushed the child slightly away so he might better look at her.
Do you mean to say you can see Rogan's visions?
The girl nodded.
What about dreams?
Sometimes.
Colgan hugged her tightly.
Oh, what a fine child you are! 2 miracles in one day. Thank you, wonderful child.
Kamina smiled, the first happy expression any of them had seen. Pug threw him a questioning look and Colgan said,
Your son can speak to animals.
Pug's jaw dropped, and the stout magician continued.
But that is not important for the moment. Kamina, what did Rogan see that hurt him so badly?
Kamina began to tremble and Colgan held her closely.
It was bad. He saw a city burning and people being hurt by bad creatures.
Pug said. Do you know the city? Is it someplace you and Rogan have seen? Kamina shook her head, her big eyes seemingly as round as saucers.
No, it was just a city.
And what else? Asked Pug gently. The girl shivered.
He saw
something. A man. There was a strong feeling of confusion.
There was a strong feeling of confusion, as if she was dealing with concepts she could not fully comprehend.
The man saw Rogan.
Dominic said softly.
How could something in a seeing sense the seer? A vision is a prophetic look at what might happen. What sort of thing could sense a magic witness across barriers of time and probability?
Pug nodded. Kamina, what did this man do to Rogan?
He reached out and hurt him. He said some words.
Katola entered the room when the child looked up at her expectantly. Katola said,
He's fallen into a deep, normal sleep. I think he will recover now.
She came up behind the chair Colgan sat in and leaned on the back. She reached down and cupped Kamina's chin.
You should be getting to bed, child.
Pug said, a little longer. Katala sensed her husband was concerned with something vital and nodded agreement. He said, just before he fainted, Rogan used a word. It is important for me to know where he heard that word. I think he heard the thing, the bad man, and the vision used the word. I need to know what Rogan heard the bad man say. Can you remember the words, Kamina? She laid her head down on Colgan's chest and nodded only slightly, obviously afraid to remember them. Pug spoke in reassuring tones. Would you tell them to us?
No, but I can show you.
How? Asked Pug.
I can show you what Rogan saw.
She answered.
I just can.
All of us? Asked Colgan. She nodded. The tiny girl sat up in Colgan's lap and took a deep breath, as if steeling herself. She closed her eyes and took them all into a dark place. Black clouds raced overhead, angry on the bitter wind. Storms threatened the city, massive gates lay shuttered, for engines of war had worked their destruction on wood and iron. Everywhere fires burned out of control as the city died. Creatures and men savaged those found hiding in cellars and attics, and blood pooled in the gutters of the streets. In the central market, a mound of bodies had been piled nearly 20 feet high. Atop the corpses rested a platform of dark wood, upon which a throne had been placed. A Mordrell of striking appearance sat upon the throne, surveying the chaos his servants had visited upon the city. At his side stood a figure draped in all black robes, deep hood and large sleeves hiding every physical clue as to what manner of creature it was. But the attention of Pug and the others was drawn to something beyond the pair, a presence of darkness, some strange unseen thing that could be felt. Lurking in the background, it was the true source of power behind the two upon the platform. The black-robed creature pointed at something, and a green-scaled hand could be seen. Somehow, the presence behind the tomb made contact, made itself known to the onlookers. It knew it was being observed, and its response was one of anger and disdain. It reached out with alien powers and spoke, carrying to those in the room a message of grey despair. All in the room shook themselves from the girl's vision. Dominic, Cogan, Gardan, and Meacham appeared disturbed, chilled by the menace in what the girl had showed them, though it could only be a shadow of the first-hand experience. But Kasumi, Katala, and Pug were rocked. When the child had finished, tears streaked down Katala's face, and Kasumi had lost his usual surrounding mask. His face ashen and drawn, Pug appeared hardest hit of all, as he sat back. That is very loud. Sorry to anyone who's being deafened. Just a moment.
Why are you using it for so long? The computer wasn't even on.
Kefa Gaming, hello my friend. How's it going? Welcome in. Wait, did we get a raid? I didn't even see the raid come in. Hang on. Oh, we did. Sorry about that. Yeah, I would need to have the headphones on in order to hear the raid come in. Give me just a second. I will give you Viking raspberries. We are half a page from the end, but is it E Magic Roll? Thank you for the raid, my friend. So very glad. Do we have multiple raids? Oh my. Did we? No, it's just the one, right? Did we get more than one raid? Wonky Bow, hello, thank you for coming in. Could you do a video about the goddess Nyx? I certainly could, Petra. But, E Magic Roll, thank you for the raid. Give me just a moment and I'll give you some Viking raspberries. Pug looked up and more than anything... Hang on. Cogan looked around the room in alarm. Kamina seemed more distressed by the reaction than by the recalling of the image. Katala sensed the child's distress and picked her up from Cogan's lap and hugged her closely. Dominic said, "What is it?" Pug looked up and, more than anything, appeared suddenly fatigued, as if the weight of two worlds once again was his to bear. Finally he spoke slowly. When Rogan was last freed of his pain, the last word he spoke were, the darkness, the darkness. That was what he saw behind those two figures. The darkness Rogan saw spoke these words. Intruders, whoever you are, wherever you are, know my power is coming. My servant prepares the way. Tremble for I come. As was in the past, so shall be in the future. Now and forever taste my power. It must have somehow reached out and touched Rogan then, causing the terror and the pain. Cogan said, "How can this be?" Softly, hoarsely, Pug spoke. "I do not know, my old friend. But now a new dimension is added to the mystery of who seeks Sarutha's death, and what lies behind all the black arts being thrown at him and his allies." Pug buried his face in his hands for a moment. Then he looked around the room. Kamina clung to Katala, and all eyes were upon Pug. Dominic said, "But there is something else." He looked at Kasumi and Katala. "What is that tongue? I heard it as well as you, as I heard Rogan's foreign words, but I know it not at all." It was Kasumi who said, "The words were ancient, a language used in the temples. I could only understand a little, but the words were Surani." And so ends chapter 13 of our adventure through Silverthorn, my friends. Alright. Magic Earl, you deserve some Viking raspberries. Do you want me to show them? Oh, he's not happy to be working. Look, you haven't seen your fans in forever. You can take 1 second to say hello, Grumpy Butt. Good lord. Castle, would it be easier to send you a document with my Pantheon to make sure everything is okay? It's still being tweaked as a whole, but I'm hoping everything works. More their domains than names, as those are being tweaked, but would it be easy? Yeah, that would be easier for sure, Matty. Thank you for the hydrate, Frost, I appreciate you. Ancient, Castle, you're only half ancient. Fair enough. Hi, Jaeger, how's it going, bud? But yeah, here's Boo, everyone. He's very grumpy. Look at his face. Look how grumpy he is. So grumpy. Alright, get out of here. Go. What are you whining about? Stop. Stop. You are quite literally just being a baby. The cat on the wheel is fine. Leave him alone. Good lord. This dog is so anxious about everything. Always in his held hostage mode. He certainly is always in his held hostage mode. Coda is right here whining. Being very whiny. And Milo is also right here. Come here. Milo is here. The boy was playing with him on his new wheel. Gentlemen and ladies, I have arrived with nothing but my presence. Hopefully you're at least wearing underwear, Jaeger. Yeah, you see, now Milo's, he's like, but I want to go back over there because there's toys over there. But your adoring fans are that way, so your adoring fans are over here. Yeah. Okay, you can go. Get out of here. Go. Go. What are you doing? Good Lord. I actually can't put Coda on screen anymore. What are you doing, cat? Just go. You didn't want to leave. No. Here, I can get Coda this way. Coda. Good God, dog. Come here. Coda, come here. Ridiculous animal. Absolutely ridiculous. Come here. Say hello. There he is. There's the big boy. Such a whiny boy. Such a whiny boy. Milo cat looks a bit like my Abby cat. He is a pureblood Bengal. And he's not super smart, but sadly he is the smartest of the
He's
three
a
of them.
full Bengal, but he's got 200% of his full anatomy. He's 100% Bengal. He's 50% nutcase and 50% autistic child.
Yes, he is. And I owe E-Magicrill. Did we get a shout out for E-Magicrill? I don't even know if he's still in here. If they whoever is still in here, but let's get him a toot on the right horn. No, that's all right. As long as one of you gets it, that's all. That's why there are multiple of you, so that we can always make sure that somebody gets it. But thank you for the raid, friends. So very glad that you could join us. If any of you are new, I am Castle. This is my tavern. Here we talk about myth and lore and tales of yore. And every now and again, I read you all a bedtime story. This is a tavern at the end of the world where all things eventually come to rest. All stories find their way here, and then I pass them on to you. And you carry them as lanterns out into the world, sharing the light of storytelling all throughout the known universe, if we're being perfectly honest. The portals can open anywhere, and they often do. Esther says hello, by the way, Everett.
Oh.
And for any of you who are new, good God, dog. all of the animals are some of the goblin denizens of the tavern, and the boy that is the son of the lady and I.
I'm a goblin.
Yes, you are. Beyond doubt. All right, friends. What do we say to some? We could do a couple of songs before I send you all off into the wild blue yonder. What does he keep slipping on?
I don't know.
I need to do his toenails because he's being frantic. Absolutely spastic, this dog is sometimes. Oh, all boy goblins, Milo, Boo, Coda. Yep, they're all goblins. We have Milo, Boo, Coda, and Everett. Everett, the one thing I told you not to do was sit on that wheel.
But it's comfy.
I told you not to sit on the wheel.
My weight.
For now.
For now, my booty butt. And besides, you want some fresh new support? Fresh new support.
I'm not worried about the wheel breaking. I'm worried about the thing the wheel sits on breaking.
If anything, that's the one thing that won't break.
Child. Anyways. Yeah, I think we could do Misty Mountain. I do need to bow for now. It's past my bedtime. Frost, thank you for sticking around, brother. It's always lovely to have you. May you rest well and may you rise tomorrow ready to face the day. Thank you for serving as barkeep tonight. It is deeply appreciated. Let's see. Tyson says, hoist the colors or Valhalla calling. My voice is a little bit worn out. Everett deserves an education castle. Yes, he does. Yeah, so let's do Hoist the Colors and Misty Mountains. I think that'll be a great way to end up for the night. Still getting my voice back in shape after all of those weeks of not being on. But I think that we can get back there with relative ease, of course.
Stop nipping at the cat.
So let's go ahead and we'll do Hoist the Colors and then we'll do Misty Mountain. I think that'll be a great way to end the night. I got dog hair all over me. He's saying how much his dog shits. Yes, there will be games tomorrow, Matty. I'm not sure what time, because the lady and I have an appointment, but there will be for sure games tomorrow. It might be a little bit earlier, might be a little bit later, but for sure there will be games tomorrow.
And for sure it will be Final Fantasy.
It may be Final Fantasy, who knows?
It will be Final Fantasy. Sit up in the wheel. It'll work. There you go.
Alright, friends. Here we go. If you've never been in before for the songs, we usually do songs in between stories or in between chapters, and then we also do songs at the end. Teenagers, I have 3. Yeah, I have 1, and he's the work of 12. So. The king and his men stole the queen from her bed and bound her in her bonds. The seas be ours, and by the powers where we will roam. Old hands, hoist the colors high. Heave ho, thieves and beggars, never shall we die. Yo ho, hold together, hoist the colors high. Heave ho, thieves and beggars, never shall we die. Some men have died, and some are alive, and others sail on the sea. With keys to the cage and the devil to pay, we lay to fiddlers green. All together, hoist the colors high. Heave ho, thieves and beggars,
Stop.
never shall we die. The bell has been raised from its watery grave. Do you hear its sepulchral tone? We are a call to all, pay heed to the squall, and turn your sails towards home. Yo-ho, together, hoist the colors high. Heave ho, thieves and beggars, never shall we die. Yo-ho, all hands, hoist the colors high. Heave ho, thieves and beggars, never shall we die. The king and his men stole the queen from her bed and bound her in her bonds. The seas be ours, and by the powers, where we will roam. Thank you for the song, my friends. Absolutely lovely.
You sung that song for 6 minutes.
Did I?
It was the same things.
Yeah, it's shanties, man. Alright, let's do Misty Mountains to end up. We're doing the Peter Hollins version, not the full version. Full version would be far too long, but we are doing the Peter Hollins version. It's a little bit shorter. Which, by the way, if none of you have ever listened to Peter Hollins, he is absolutely wonderful, and I strongly recommend his music. It is very good. Most people don't know the origin of the term pay the devil his dues. It's a nautical term. The seam between the keel and the outward plank, one had to work tar into it to seal a ship. Interesting, Tyson. Thank you for the sharing. Elsie's fur consistently is present in every location in the house. I'm sure, Esther, because Elsie is a collie, yes? Tim, hello, my friend. So very good to see you. Thank you for the super chat, brother. Tips to the Tavern Keeper, always appreciated. Fine, Timothy. So, Tim, actually, I'm glad that you dropped in. The Katarina Sforza video will be coming out soon. My computer died, my magic box died. And so I haven't been able to put out really any long videos in a while, but that one will be coming out soon. I'll make sure I link all of your socials in it. I'm glad you dropped in, brother. Good to see you. And now, Misty Mountains, my friends. Far over the misty mountains cold, to dungeons deep and caverns old, we must away ere break of day, to find a long forgotten gold. The pines were roaring on the height, the winds were moaning in the night, the fire was red, it flaming spreads, the trees like torches blazed with light. Elsie is your classic black and white border collie. Oh, excellent. Yes, that is... Well, no, that's the boy playing with Milo with a toy. But yes, that is Milo, Annabelle, and the boy in the background.
That silly boy. You can't get it. You can't get it.
The wind was... Are we having technical difficulties? I'm not seeing anything on my end, actually. Was it? Maybe I just stopped and paused. Maybe that was my fault. She costs a fortune. She's purebred. I can imagine. Border collies are quite pricey for sure. I'm not seeing any difficulties on my end, Ashley. The wind was on the withered heath, but in the forest stirred no leaf. Their shadows lay the night or day, and dark things silent crept beneath. That's all right. If anything does go wrong, thank you for letting me know, because I don't want to have any more problems like we've been having. So, the wind went on from west to east, all movement in the forest ceased, but shrill and harsh across the marsh, its whistling voices were released. Farewell we call to hearth and hall. The wind may blow and rain may fall, we must away ere break of day, far o'er the woods and mountain tall, far over the misty mountains cold, to dungeons deep and caverns old, We must away ere break of day to find a long forgotten gold. Thank you for the song, my friends. It's a bit laggy for you as well, Tyson. Everything looks stable on my end. So, I'm literally, this is the most consistent line we've really ever had anywhere ever. What is he scratching?
Me?
No, what is the cat scratching? Or is that you making that noise?
That's me.
Okay, alright. As long as it's you and not the cat. Thank you kindly, Ashley. I appreciate you. Bear says, can we sneak in one more? Oak and Ash and Thorn? Oh, perhaps. When Elsie was 2 months old, she fell gravely ill after being purchased from an unknown individual. It was later discovered that the individual engaged in backyard breeding, which is an unethical practice. Despite the lack of prior disclosure regarding her health conditions, I personally incurred significant expenses at the veterinary's clinic to ensure her survival. Fortunately, Elsie has since recovered and is now thriving and in excellent health. That is wonderful to hear. Milo, I believe, was also a part of a kitten mill, because he has a lot of symbols of having been taken away from a mother very young. So, it is entirely possible that he was, as a result of being in a kitten mill, which is sad.
Absolutely sleep in this thing.
What did Gandalf see deep down in the earth when he fell with the Balrog? Now, are you leading up to a joke, Tildalt, or do you actually want to know? Because I believe, if I am correct, he saw the dark things, and there are a great many dark beasts that exist beneath the world. Yeah, the gentleman who we ended up purchasing him from actually had his account removed from the place that we got him. So, yeah, there are a great many dark... Yeah, many dark things. Not a joke this time, unfortunately. It's all right. I was waiting for a punchline, so either a punchline or discussion about Lord of the Rings. Either one I'm always on board for. And Bear, we certainly can squeeze in Oak and Ash and Thorn. I'd be happy to do it. My voice is not completely worn out, so I think we can do Oak and Ash and Thorn just all good. I thought it was leading to a joke too. It was the perfect setup for a joke. It was the perfect setup for one. But no, yeah, many dark things is what it said in the... What is it, the first book? Or it's in the first or second book? I believe it's the first book. Or it might have been the second book. I can never remember. Because I read it all as one volume now, so I can never remember what is in which volume. Because I read mine in the huge whole volume now. But... and then it's further expounded upon in some of the other extra notes of Tolkien. That's terrible about Milo. He's in good hands now. Hopefully so. I don't know.
What's that supposed to
I don't know if calling Everett better hands is accurate or not.
My
But
baby.
it is. So the many dark things is in reference to these great beasts that live beneath the surface of the world. And Tolkien only passively mentions them in a few texts, but they are a fascinating point of discovery that the only thing more powerful than these many dark things is the actual Valar themselves and Eru Ilúvatar. So it is a fascinating thing to read into if you're interested. And yeah, I would imagine it would be terrifying. Even more terrifying and powerful than the Drakes and Balrogs. Like, the Drakes and Balrogs were born as a result of Melkor's meddlings with living things. Like, he made the dragons and the Drakes and the Balrogs out of other living beings. He bastardized and changed living creatures in the same way that Sauron did with orcs and Uruk-hai. But these other things are like almost celestial in their natures, more akin to what you would see with Shelob and Shelob's mother, or I believe mother, whose name I can never remember. What?
Castle. What would happen if I used the nitric
Ungoliath.
acid as mouthwash?
You would tear all of the enamel off of your teeth.
That's it?
The enamel is the hard part on the outside of your teeth. You would give yourself soft teeth.
Oh.
Yeah, that would be bad. Are dwarves more susceptible to dragon sickness? I think dwarves are probably less susceptible to dragon sickness than what you would find in other creatures, like than mortal men. Men are typically more susceptible to things like that, but dwarves became more susceptible to it after they were given the seven rings, right? Because Thorin's grandfather was also a possessor of one of the seven rings. So the rings led to the dwarves being more susceptible to greed and dragon sickness. It actually enhanced their greed. That was because the Sauron could not control the dwarves with the seven rings. The dwarves were able to resist, much like the elves were, and unlike the men were not able. I snoozed ads. Thank you, Bear. I appreciate you. What a cute meow. Yeah, that's Boo being all demanding. But what the rings did do to the dwarves is it made them more greedy, and it made them more paranoid. It caused the dwarves to become more paranoid and greedy, and that is what led to the dwarves going deeper into the thing. Wiggledy-figgledy become influenced by my ring disease, basically. Alright, let's get these songs out of the way. Of all the trees that grow so fair, old England to adorn, greater are none beneath the sun than oak and ash and thorn. Sing oak and ash and thorn, good sirs, all on a midsummer's morn. We'll sing of no little, surely we'll sing of no little thing in oak and ash and thorn. You that is old in churchyard mould, he breedeth a mighty bow. Alder for shoes do wise men choose, and beech for cups also. But when you have killed and your bow is filled, and your shoes are clean outworn, back you must speed for all that you need to oak and ash and thorn. Sing oak and ash and thorn, good sirs, all on a midsummer's morn. Surely we'll sing of no little thing in oak and ash and thorn. Sing oak and ash and thorn, good sirs, all on a midsummer's morn. Surely we'll sing of no little thing in oak and ash and thorn. Elm she hates in mankind and waits till every gust be laid, to drop a limb on head of him that anyway trusts her shade. But whether a lad be sober or sad, or mellow with ale from the horn, he'll take no wrong when he lieth along neath oak and ash and thorn. T-Dot, you're absolutely welcome, and only Wesley calls me Johnny. Wesley with a T, by the way. Westley. Sing oak and ash and thorn, good sirs, all on a midsummer's morn. Surely we'll sing of no little thing in oak and ash and thorn. Sing oak and ash and thorn, good sirs, all on a midsummer's morn. Surely we'll sing of no little thing in oak and ash and thorn. Oh, do not tell the priest our plight, for he would call it a sin. But we've been out in the woods all night, a conjuring summer in. We bring you good news of word of mouth, good news for cattle and corn. Sure as the sun comes up from the south by oak and ash and thorn. Sing oak and ash and thorn, good sirs, all on a midsummer's morn. Surely we'll sing of no little thing in oak and ash and thorn. Sing oak and ash and thorn, good sirs, all on a midsummer's morn. Surely we'll sing of no little thing in oak and ash and thorn. Sing oak and ash and thorn, good sirs, all on a midsummer's morn. Surely we'll sing of no little thing in oak and ash and thorn. Sing oak and ash and thorn, good sirs, all on a midsummer's morn. Surely we'll sing of no little thing in oak and ash and thorn. Thank you for the song, my friends. Absolutely a pleasure and privilege to spend this wonderful evening with you. Thank you kindly for joining me tonight for Storytime. Now, if you are with us over on the Twitch portal, we will raid out to share the love with some of our friends. But if you are with us anywhere else, now is the time that the portals must close. The doors will be shut for a while, but they will open again the very next time that you desire a story. Thank you all for joining me tonight, and thank you and a wonderful round of applause for our beautiful and exceptional barkeeps who keep us all safe and keep everyone entertained while my head is down. Thank you all kindly for being here. It has been a wonderful evening, and we are so glad to be back with stable portals for all of the stories. And thank you, my friends, for all that you do and for all the time you spend here with us. It is sad that we must part and that the doors must close, but they will again open, I promise you that. So until then, stay bloodthirsty, my friends, and we will see you in the next one. Have a good night.